In the autumn of 1977, 3 years into my marriage with my husband Liang Tingxing, his young and beautiful sister-in-law, Gu Ying, showed up at our door with a child in desperate need of care. Sympathizing with Gu Ying's plight as a widow struggling to raise a child, Liang Tingxing felt duty-bound to give half of his salary to support her. When Gu Ying mentioned wanting a well-paying, low-stress job, Liang Tingxing, eager to solve her problem, gave her my job instead. Everyone said Liang Tingxing was a good man, always ready to help others. I just smiled without a word. I knew exactly why Liang Tingxing was helping Gu Ying, because the other person on his marriage certificate wasn't me, it was Gu Ying, and the child Gu Ying brought wasn't Liang Tingxing's brother's, it was his and Gu Ying's loved child. In my past life, I slaved away without complaint, helping Liang Tingxing take care of Gu Ying and that child. The truth only dawned on me when Liang Tingxing died, and Gu Ying showed up with their child to claim the inheritance, leaving me with nothing and throwing me out. I'll never be that lucky again in this life. I'll step aside and let Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying have their perfect, happy little family reunion. Later, on the very day I received my university acceptance letter and was preparing to leave, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's dirty little secret was exposed. The transition from death to rebirth was too sudden. I haven't adjusted yet, staring blankly at the familiar period architecture and slogans before me. Am I not already dead? How is it possible that I'm seeing all these things from the 70s and 80s? Was I dreaming? The factory guard, seeing me standing dazed at the main gate, called out to me, "Here to see Engineer Liang again. He's gone to the station to pick someone up." I heard it's his late brother's widow. His late brother's widow, ha. What a pathetic excuse from that despicable pair. In my past life, Liang Tingxing and I shared 50 loving years, the very picture of a model couple in the eyes of others. We weathered 50 years of life storms together, and I always believed Liang Tingxing loved me as deeply as I loved him. On the very day Liang Tingxing lay dying, his brother's widow, Gu Ying, showed up at our door with their grown child, brandishing a marriage certificate proving she was legally married to him. I, who had been his wife and lived with him for 50 years, was suddenly reduced to the status of a nanny and a homewrecker. All of Liang Tingxing's family assets were taken by his lawful wife, Gu Ying, and their son, leaving me to face nothing but endless ridicule, blame, and abuse. Unable to accept this outcome, I coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed. To my astonishment, when I opened my eyes again, I had been sent back to the very day Liang Tingxing brought Gu Ying and her son home. In my past life, after bringing them home, Liang Tingxing explained to me that he was just helping out the widow and child of his best friend. I trusted Liang Tingxing completely and didn't suspect a thing. Liang Tingxing said that since Gu Ying and her son were new in town and needed money to get settled, he gave them all the hard-earned savings we had put aside to buy furniture and set up their place. He even regularly gave the meat, cloth, and grain ration coupons from our household to Gu Ying and her son for their use. All the neighbors and colleagues said Liang Tingxing was a good man of great loyalty and integrity, kept in the dark. I believed the same, and so, deceived by that heartless, ungrateful wretch Liang Tingxing, I handed over the hard-earned money I had saved for Gu Ying and her son to enjoy. I even gave up my job for him. Then, after the college entrance exams were reinstated, when I was preparing to take them, Liang Tingxing claimed he needed to repay a debt of gratitude. He convinced me to write Gu Ying's name on my own exam paper. Gu Ying used my exam scores to get into university. After graduation, she was assigned to a highly coveted position at a state-owned enterprise. As for me, I wasted my entire life because of Liang Tingxing's empty promise to take care of me. I stayed home, toiling away at chores and acting as a nanny, raising the love child he had with Gu Ying. Those two despicable people, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying, covered their tracks perfectly. They never gave the slightest hint of their scheme. I was such a fool, never suspecting a thing. If Liang Tingxing hadn't had a stroke and met his maker first, I probably would have gone to my grave never knowing how cruel the truth was. The memories are suffocatingly painful. Thinking of what was about to happen, I turned and quickened my pace, running back to the home I shared with Liang Tingxing. Panting heavily, I rushed back to the home I shared with Liang Tingxing, dashed into the bedroom, and flung open the money box. I scooped up all the hard-saved cash, grain coupons, cloth coupons, shoe coupons, and meat coupons inside and stuffed them into my own pocket. If Liang Tingxing wants to furnish a home for Gu Ying and her child, let him go borrow the money himself. He won't get another single thing from me. I went straight to the post office and mailed half of the cash and coupons I had to my parents. Then, I took the remaining fabric ration coupons to the supply and marketing cooperative and exchanged them for 4 sets of clothes, and used the shoe coupons to get 2 pairs of shoes. Next, I went to a restaurant on the street and used my meat and grain ration coupons for a hearty, pollution-free, and genuinely delicious spare rib feast, with my stomach full and thirst quenched. I finally picked up my purchases and strolled leisurely back home. When I was still some distance from home, Liang Tingxing came hurrying over from the opposite direction. Seeing me loaded down with shopping bags, Liang Tingxing quickened his pace to meet me. "Jianing, have you been shopping?" I nodded and held up the clothes and shoes for him to see. I haven't bought any new clothes or shoes in 3 years. I finally used the fabric and shoe ration coupons I'd been saving to get myself a few new outfits and 2 pairs of shoes. Ever since I married Liang Tingxing, I've lived frugally, always putting him and his family first, even at my own expense. Liang Tingxing's expression darkened at the sudden, unannounced use of the family's fabric ration coupons to buy clothes and shoes for herself. I watched him cautiously. "Tingxing, are you upset?" Of course Liang Tingxing was upset. But now was not the time to dwell on it. He forced a stiff, awkward smile. "It's fine, Jianing. There's something I need to discuss with you. I have something to tell you, too," I said, cutting Liang Tingxing off before he could speak. "I've been married to you for 3 years and haven't sent a single penny home. My parents are struggling, they're getting on in years and they need the money, so I sent them all the wages I'd saved up, along with the food and meat ration coupons." "What?" Liang Tingxing's voice shot up, his face contorted with rage. "That was all the money we'd painstakingly saved over 3 years." Liang Tingxing had a decent salary, and I was frugal. We'd saved over 1,000 yuan, now it was all gone. You can imagine how much that stingy bastard's heart must have been bleeding. I looked at Liang Tingxing with an innocent expression. "Are you angry, Tingxing? Please don't be mad, it's all my fault. I know I was wrong, I won't act on my own again." Liang Tingxing's expression was grim, but he couldn't say anything, since what was done, so he could only force a slight smile. "I'm not angry, just, next time, please don't take matters into your own hands like this. You have to tell me first." I nodded repeatedly, but inwardly, I was sneering. "That's it, Liang Tingxing, no more chances. This is the last time. From now on, you and that bitch Guing are going to get what's coming to you. The humiliation I suffered in my past life, I will make sure to repay it in full in this one." Thinking to myself, I asked Liang Tingxing, "By the way, what did you want to tell me?" "Jianing, it's like this, one of my brothers, the one surnamed Zhao, he passed away 3 years ago, right? He was my closest friend. On his deathbed, he entrusted me with looking after his wife and son, so I put on an understanding face. Helping others is a wonderful thing. I support you." Seeing that I supported him, Liang Tingxing breathed a sigh of relief, but then my next words immediately made his face fall again. "Part of your monthly salary goes to your parents, part for household expenses, and now you want to support your brother's widow too. Do you really think it's enough?" Seeing Liang Tingxing's grim expression, I added another point. "When we got married, we agreed on this. My parents are getting old and life isn't easy for them. I have to support them. Plus, my brother is still in university, so my salary has to be sent back home for them. So, Tingxing, from now on, supporting this family will all be up to you." Liang Tingxing fell silent. In my past life, I pinched every penny, sacrificing my own comfort just to save face for him, so he felt perfectly justified in using our money to support his parents, Guing, and the child they had together. I wore the same set of clothes for 3 years, patched upon patches, while Guing had a constant rotation of new outfits for every season, while I grew pale and thin, subsisting on nothing but pickles, dried radish, and plain rice porridge. Guing and Liang Tingxing's child was plump and rosy-cheeked, feasting on fine rice and flour, with snacks to spare. In my past life, I was a fool, too blind to see the truth of human nature or see through the lies. I deserved to be used and deceived. Given a second chance at life, I am no longer that gullible Yan Jianing. If Liang Tingxing thinks he can use me as his beast of burden, he's living in a dream. After returning home with Liang Tingxing, I made a token visit to the house next door where he had settled Guing and her son. After a brief, obligatory greeting, I made an excuse about needing to buy groceries and cook dinner, and made my escape. Unlike my previous life, I didn't prepare a lavish feast of meat and fish to welcome Guing and her child. Instead, I made a pot of cornmeal porridge, stir-fried some greens, and served pickled radish strips. Once the simple meal was ready, I hollered at the top of my lungs for Liang Tingxing and Guing to come eat. Liang Tingxing and Guing came in one after the other, carrying their child. Liang Tingxing was covered in dust. In my past life, it was I who had dutifully cleaned the house prepared for Guing. He and Guing didn't lift a finger the whole time, while I was scrubbing and mopping until my back was killing me. This time around, I made an excuse about cooking and left, so Liang Tingxing had no choice but to serve his own wife and son. You can imagine how miserable he was, having never done a single household chore in his life. The two of them walked in expecting a feast, but when I brought out the cornmeal porridge with stir-fried greens and pickled radish, Gu Ying's face fell. "Is this what we're having for dinner?" I put on an apologetic face. "I'm so sorry, I got there too late and this was all that was left. Let's make do with this for today, and tomorrow I'll have Tingxing buy something proper to treat you and your son." Gu Ying's palate was notoriously picky. There was no way she'd stoop to eating cornmeal porridge. Without a shred of courtesy, she stormed off in a huff. Liang Tingxing looked at the dishes on the table and sighed. "Jianing. Using this to entertain guests is just too. I spread my hands, feigning innocence. "I'd love to serve better food too, but we're out of money, grain coupons, and meat ration tickets." I was too embarrassed to admit we're broke in front of Comrade Gu, so I just said they were sold out. "Why don't you go borrow some money to buy more? I can cook again." Liang Tingxing didn't go to borrow the money. It's not exactly easy to get a loan these days. He was exhausted from helping Gu Ying clean her place. "Jianing," he said, "Gu Ying's apartment isn't finished yet. Maybe you could." I cut him off. I just threw my back out. "It's killing me. I can't do any work. I could barely manage to cook dinner through the pain. I'm even thinking of calling in sick tomorrow." After I turned him down, Liang Tingxing left, looking utterly disappointed. In my past life, nothing terrified me more than seeing disappointment on Liang Tingxing's face. I loved him so much that I always put him first in everything. Liang Tingxing thought I would take on all the work for Gu Ying and her child like I did in my past life. He was sorely mistaken. Since Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying wouldn't eat the cornmeal or the dried vegetables and radishes, I simply put them away, planning to serve them the same things again tomorrow morning, without me there to tirelessly scrub, clean, and make Gu Ying's bed. Liang Tingxing had no choice but to keep doing all the chores himself. Liang Tingxing is an engineer at his workplace, working in an office. Ever since we got married, I'd been the one doing all the housework. He just couldn't handle suddenly having to do such heavy, manual labor. Unlike in my previous life, Liang Tingxing didn't scrub or mop. He just gave the house where Gu Ying and her son were staying a quick, cursory clean and called it a day. After I finished tidying up, I tiptoed over to eavesdrop by the wall. Sure enough, I heard Gu Ying's voice grumbling. "Is this it? The room is still filthy, there's no wardrobe or dresser, and the bedding is all old. How are Xiao Bao and I supposed to live here?" Liang Tingxing was in a foul mood and snapped. "What's wrong with it? If others can live here, why can't you?" "It's not that I can't live here, it's just. Why is it so different? It wasn't like this before." Gu Ying's words sent a jolt through me. What did she mean? It wasn't like this before. What did Gu Ying mean by before? Liang Tingxing was too exhausted to catch Gu Ying's last remark and snapped back irritably. "What's the difference? You were perfectly fine living over there. I told you not to come, but you insisted. Since you're here, you'll just have to put up with it." Seeing Liang Tingxing's bad attitude, Gu Ying put on a conciliatory smile. "I was just worried you'd miss your son. A boy needs his father. Living with his real dad makes him smarter." "Shut up," Liang Tingxing hissed, lowering his voice. "Are you out of your mind saying that out loud? Do you have a death wish? But there's no one else here. I only said it because it's just the two of us. I'll remember not to say it outside." "But Tingxing, why won't you buy new furniture for me and little Bao? I don't matter so much." "But little Bao is your own flesh and blood. How can you bear to let him make do with these old, worn-out things?" Liang Tingxing was silent for a moment before replying. "I'm out of money." "How can you be out of money? I thought you had over 1,000 saved up." Liang Tingxing looked at Gu Ying. "What $1,000-something dollars? How do you know I've saved over $1,000? Gu Ying gave an awkward laugh. "I was just guessing. Your salary isn't low. And Yang Jianning's is decent too. You've been married for 3 years. You must have saved up a fair bit." "Right, saved up. Saved up what? There are endless expenses at home, my parents, you, and the baby. You're all like vampires, constantly draining me for money. Let me tell you, you're the one who insisted on coming here. Don't start complaining about how hard life is now. Times have changed." I didn't listen any further. I turned around and went back home. As I walked, I kept turning over Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing's conversation in my mind. Gu Ying had said things were different now. She even knew about the 1,000-some yuan Liang Tingxing and I had saved up. How did she find out? Could it be that Gu Ying has also been reborn? By the time Liang Tingxing came back, I was already in bed. When he entered, I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep, and ignored him. Liang Tingxing held me from behind and whispered tenderly, "Jianing, let's have a child." Marrying Liang Tingxing and bearing his child was the dream of my past life. For 50 years of marriage, I could never conceive a child. In those days, a woman who couldn't bear children was destined to be looked down upon. I think the main reason I was so subservient to Liang Tingxing in my past life, following his every command, was that I couldn't bear children, and Liang Tingxing didn't treat me poorly because of my infertility. On the surface, Liang Tingxing was decent enough to me. He would even stand up for me when his mother pointed her finger in my face and called me a barren hen. So, I thought Liang Tingxing truly cared for me, so, I took Liang Tingxing's care for Guiying and her son as a sign of his kind-hearted nature. When I was being worn down by Liang Tingxing's mother, I once suggested we break up. Liang Tingxing said he would never leave me, that he didn't need children, and that having me was enough. I believed him, and was so profoundly moved that I vowed I would go through fire and water for him without a second thought. But it was all a lie. Liang Tingxing had long since married Guiying behind my back and had a child of his own. Remembering the agony and despair I felt in my past life when I learned the truth, I pushed away Liang Tingxing's wandering hands. "I'm not feeling well," I said. "Let's just go to sleep." I had never refused Liang Tingxing in this way before. This was the first time. I could feel the weight of Liang Tingxing's stunned gaze on my back. I couldn't be bothered with what Liang Tingxing was thinking. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, putting a full person's width of distance between us, and settled back down to sleep. Suddenly, Guiying's scream pierced the silence from outside. Liang Tingxing scrambled out of bed in an instant and dashed out, not even stopping to put on his shoes. He didn't come back that night. I didn't bother keeping tabs on him. He was most likely tangled up with Guiying. Anyway, it wasn't exactly a secret. The next morning, I found Liang Tingxing sitting in the living room, looking absolutely dreadful. I yawned. "What's for breakfast?" "We didn't finish the cornmeal porridge from last night. Should we just have that?" Liang Tingxing suddenly stood up and kicked his chair, sending it clattering across the floor. I turned to look at him. "Who got on your bad side?" Liang Tingxing asked me, his face livid. "Yang Jianing, I was gone all night and you slept that soundly." "Well, what did you expect? I have work today. I couldn't just stay up all night waiting for you, could I? Do I even mean anything to you?" What's gotten into him? In 2 lifetimes, Liang Tingxing had never asked such a thing. Just because he went to comfort Guiying in the middle of the night, am I supposed to chase after him like I did in my past life? I shot back. "You really need to ask if you mean anything to me." In her past life, Yang Jianing's world revolved entirely around Liang Tingxing. She worried if he was cold, if he was hungry, and would agonize for ages over the reason behind a single frown. The Yang Jianing of that past life was a fool, and that's why she deserved such a heart-wrenching betrayal. The Yang Jianing of this life won't be that foolish anymore. I heated the cornmeal porridge with complete indifference, seeing my cold demeanor. Liang Tingxing slammed the door and left. With him gone, there was no need to heat the porridge. I packed my things, ready to leave as well. To my surprise, Guiying showed up holding her son, a bag of steaming buns and soy milk in hand. She gave me a sidelong glance with a smug grin. "Sis, eating that for breakfast? Tingxing really has no consideration. He bought buns, fried dough sticks, and soy milk for me and little Bao. Yet he lets you eat this slop." The provocation in Guiying's eyes was crystal clear. Without a single word of argument, I snatched the buns and soy milk right out of her hands, tore them open, and started eating. I kept eating as I walked out. Guiying was completely caught off guard by my move. Fuming with rage, she chased after me, shouting, "Give me back my steamed buns and soy milk. My Tingxing paid for this. Why on earth should I give it to you? Tingxing bought this specifically for me and little Bao. There's none for you." "I don't believe that for a second. I'm Liang Tingxing's wife. What kind of nonsense is it that he'd buy food for you but not for me?" 3. I raised my voice and shouted. The street was full of people on their way to work in the early morning, and hearing me, they all stopped to watch the drama unfold. With a look of utter grievance, I continued my tirade. "Shouldn't a brother's wife know her place? You called him away late at night and he didn't come home. Then, first thing in the morning, he's buying you steamed buns and soy milk. In the 3 years I've been married to Liang Tingxing, I've never received such treatment. Let's have everyone here judge this fairly. Since Liang Tingxing paid for these buns and milk, why can you eat them but I can't?" Guiying's face flushed crimson and she stammered, lost for words. I pressed on. "If you wanted buns and Liang Tingxing bought them for you, then just eat them. Everyone knows my Liang Tingxing is a kind-hearted pushover who loves to help others. But you can't just wave them in my face to show off and put me down, saying that me eating cornmeal is like eating pig slop." As my loud voice echoed, a wave of murmurs and, "What kind of person is this? Talk about ungrateful." He eats the buns and soy milk her husband bought, then comes to brag about it to the wife. Is that something a decent human being would do? A widow and her child coming to seek refuge with Engineer Liang. What on earth is going on? Who knows? These days, even brothers keep clear accounts with each other. No one's exactly rolling in money, let alone able to take in outsiders. Exactly, you seek shelter with someone, then turn around to badmouth and bully them. Since when is that how the world works? It's all because Xiao Yang is too nice and easygoing. If it were me, and my husband dared to bring some shady woman home, I'd slap him right across the face. Amidst the buzzing gossip, Guing slammed the door shut with a bang, her face rigid. I gave a wry smirk, grabbed my steamed buns and soy milk, and headed off to work while eating, with so many people having witnessed my argument with Guing. The gossip-loving aunties all gathered around me at lunch, trying to fish for the details. I told them the whole story, leaving nothing out. Tingxing said she's the wife of his best brother. The poor thing, widowed and dragging a child along, came to him for help. Comrade Gu, used to a life of ease, couldn't stomach the coarse food, so my Tingxing, out of pity, bought her breakfast. Oh, and at night, afraid Comrade Gu might be scared, my Tingxing even goes to keep her company. My Tingxing. He's just such a good man. The way the gossip mongers looked at me changed. Their gazes were full of sympathy and something, knowing. I knew it wouldn't be long before the news of Liang Tingxing buying breakfast for the widow and her child, and even keeping her company late at night, spread through every street and alley. I can't wait. After work, I did my usual routine of grabbing a big meal out before slowly making my way home. From a distance, I saw Guing holding her child, looking around. When she saw me return empty-handed, her face twisted into a look of utter disgust. Yang Jianing is back too, isn't she? My heart sank, but I kept a look of confusion on my face. Comrade Gu, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Stop pretending. You must have come back, otherwise, you wouldn't have done something like this. Guing glared at me with vicious intensity. It wasn't like this in our past life. You didn't send all your money home to your parents. You didn't serve me such awful food. And you certainly wouldn't have said those things in public to ruin mine and Tingxing's reputation. So, Yang Jianing, you've come back just like I have. You want revenge on me and Tingxing for what happened in our past life, don't you? I looked at the furious Guing and continued playing dumb. Comrade Gu, what on earth are you talking about? I don't understand a single word. Past life, revenge. I pointed at Gu Ying's head. Is there something wrong up here? Spotting Liang Tingxing's returning figure, I raised my voice. Tingxing, you're back just in time. Quick, take Comrade Gu to see a doctor. It seems there's something wrong with her mind. She's been saying the most bizarre things to me. It's terrifying. My conversation with Guing was cut short by Liang Tingxing's return. I looked at him, noticing his hands were just as empty as mine. Tingxing, you didn't buy any groceries either. Then what are we having for dinner tonight? More of last night's cornmeal mush. Liang Tingxing's face turned a sickly green, while over in the corner, Guing began to sob softly. Brother Gu, I've caused you so much trouble. How could sister-in-law think of us like that, spreading such vile rumors about our reputations everywhere? I can't go on living like this. Guing ran off crying, clutching her child, and Liang Tingxing abandoned me to chase after her. I didn't have the time or patience to watch those two despicable people put on their little act. I went home to wash up and get some rest. Liang Tingxing was gone for quite a while chasing after Guing this time. He didn't come back until 10 o'clock. When Liang Tingxing came back and saw me already lying in bed, his expression was rather complicated. Jianing, we need to talk. Talk about what? Did Comrade Gu complain to you about me? Let me tell you, that's not how it was. This morning, she came over with steamed buns and soy milk, flaunting them in front of me and saying the cornmeal I was eating was pig slop. I was so angry I snatched the buns and milk from her and said some harsh things. I admit I overreacted, but who asked her to provoke me like that? You're my husband, aren't you? Hearing my explanation, Liang Tingxing's expression softened considerably. That Guing really went too far. Jianing, if you're unhappy about Guing and her child staying here, I can ask them to leave. We never had a conversation like this in my past life. Did Guing and Liang Tingxing say something? I played dumb. I don't have any objections. Why would I? Helping others is a virtue. Isn't it a good thing? It's just that Comrade Gu doesn't seem to like me much. I can tell she dislikes me. Tingxing, please don't listen to her one-sided story and start disliking me too. You're all I have now. Seeing I was still acting as naive and clueless as before, Liang Tingxing was reassured. He took my hand emotionally. Jianing, how could I ever dislike you? You're my favorite person. Let me explain about Guing. I owe a debt of gratitude to her late husband, so I have to repay it. helping her and her son is just me settling that debt. Please don't read too much into it. Also, Guing hasn't been herself since her husband's death. She's a bit unhinged. She speaks without thinking. So please don't take her words to heart. That's absolutely disgusting. I pulled my hand away. So she's mentally ill. Got it. I won't stoop to her level anymore. Since her husband helped you out, you just focus on taking good care of her and the kid to repay the favor. I'm sure your dear departed friend will be eternally grateful from beyond the grave, thinking what a stand-up guy you are. Hearing this, Liang Tingxing's face fell. Sleeping with your sworn brother's wife, getting her to bear your child, and then marrying her. What kind of person even does that? After all the vile things Liang Tingxing had done, he must be terrified deep down, afraid of being haunted by vengeful spirits. He shifted the topic with an awkward expression. Look, Jianing, I don't want to support them forever either. I want to repay the debt I owe them and make a clean break. How would you do that? I continued playing dumb. Guing has no job and the pressure of raising a child is immense. Your current job is quite easy. Why don't you just give your position to Guing? That way, I won't owe her or her child anything. Well, I let a reluctant look show on my face. Liang Tingxing kept his eyes fixed intently on me. I saw the situation with perfect clarity and sighed along with him. I'll do whatever you say, but what am I supposed to do about my life if I lose my job? I'll take care of you. Liang Tingxing reached out and took my hand again. Jianing, I'll provide for you for the rest of your life. Liang Tingxing had said the exact same thing before, in my past life. Hearing those words filled me with a sickly sweet warmth and moved me to tears. Hearing it again in this life, I just felt sick. I pulled my hand out of his grasp. All right, it's settled then. Give the job to Guing, so you can repay the debt you owe her. But let me be clear. You need to keep your distance from her from now on. I've always had a strange feeling about that comrade Gu. There's something off about her. Something unnerving. My words made Liang Tingxing stare at me for a long moment. His gaze was odd, sending a chill right through me. I figured Guing must have said something to Liang Tingxing. After all, I was certain that Guing, like me, had been reborn. Guing knew what was coming. So she tipped off Liang Tingxing about the change in me. That's why Liang Tingxing came back to sound me out. Seeing how readily I agreed without a hint of refusal, he was put at ease. That night, I lay in bed, unable to fall asleep. The realization that Guing had also been reborn filled me with a quiet sense of wariness. Guing and Liang Tingxing are both despicable scoundrels. I thought my rebirth had given me the means to deal with them. For, now that Guing has also been reborn, she's bound to notice that I'm different. I can't afford to slip up. I have to be extremely careful. So, I obediently agreed to Liang Tingxing's request to give the job to Guing. This serves to put them at ease, and I have my own reasons for it. Just as the thought crossed my mind, I heard Liang Tingxing beside me softly calling, Jianing, Jianing. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be fast asleep and didn't move a muscle. Seeing that I didn't respond, Liang Tingxing got out of bed quietly and left. I got up too and tiptoed out after him. Liang Tingxing went next door to find Guing, and the two of them began speaking in hushed tones in the courtyard. I stood on this side, listening intently through the wall. Guing asked Liang Tingxing, well, did she agree? She did. How is that possible? So, does that mean she isn't a reincarnator? Absolutely not. If she had been reborn, would she be this docile and obedient? She'd probably hate us to death, wouldn't she? But haven't you noticed the change in her? She was nothing like this in her past life. Enough. I don't want to hear any more of this past life, this life nonsense. I'm warning you, you need to behave. This is a critical time for me. I'm up for a promotion and a professional title review. For heaven's sake, don't cause any trouble. Liang Tingxing's voice was stern. Guing replied resentfully, fine, I get it. It won't happen again. Oh, and Tingxing, don't leave tonight. Stay with me and the child. No way, we'll get caught. Then let's sneak in a little time together now. It's been so long. I've missed you like crazy. What followed was not suitable for a younger audience. I didn't want to gross myself out, so I quietly crept back. I felt a wave of relief. Thank goodness I agreed to give the job to Guing. Otherwise those two jerks would have been incredibly suspicious of me. Right, the next day, I went to the office and spoke to my supervisor about having Guing take over the work. My supervisor didn't object and agreed to have Guing start the following day, so, it was settled just like that. That evening, when I got home, I ran into Guing again right at the doorway, holding her child. She gave me a thin, insincere smile. You're back. Did you talk to the boss about the job? I beamed back at her. I did. You can start tomorrow. Oh, really? Thank you so much. By the way, Xiao Bao and I have really been a burden on you and Brother Liang. Brother Liang is especially kind to us. He said we both looked too thin and need to build up our strength. He even went out at noon and bought a bunch of eggs, pork ribs, and brown sugar for us. Guing was probably still suspicious of me, her eyes fixed on me without blinking. I smiled. That's a good thing, isn't it? It can't be easy for a widow raising a child on her own. If you're short on money, just talk to Tingxing. He should help you out more. Seeing that I showed no sign of being upset, Guing left in disappointment, holding her child. 6. I watched Gu Ying's retreating back coldly. Did she really think I was making a sacrifice by giving up my job so willingly? Wrong. I wasn't sacrificing anything. I was preparing for the college entrance exams. It's October 1977. I remember that in just a few days, the announcement to reinstate the national college entrance exams will be made. I quit my job to focus on preparing for the exams. I was determined to get into university once they were reinstated and leave that awful man, Liang Tingxing, behind. The next few days passed quietly. With no job to go to, I spent my free time at the bookstore, studying and reviewing. 2 weeks went by like this. Then, on my way home from the bookstore, I heard the good news blaring from a loudspeaker on the street. The college entrance exams are back. Hearing this thrilling news, my heart swelled with emotion. The moment that will decide my fate is finally here. In my past life, after Guing took over my job, I stayed home as a housemaid, helping her with the kids and chores, all while never forgetting to study. I was gearing up for the college entrance exam, hoping to secure a better future, but at the last minute, Liang Tingxing convinced me to write Gu Ying's name on my exam paper. He said that way, he would owe Guing nothing. I agreed to take the exam for Liang Tingxing's sake, and in the end, Guing went off to university. True to his word, Liang Tingxing cut all ties with Guing, and they never contacted each other again. I would never have imagined that these two despicable people had been carrying on behind my back, setting up a second family in another city. If Guing hadn't returned with their son after Liang Tingxing's death to fight for the inheritance, all of Liang Tingxing's so-called business trips were just excuses to go and be with Guing and their son. At the thought of the college entrance exam, a glimmer of hope sparked in my eyes. This time, I will take control of my own life. I refuse to be used and have my efforts benefit someone else. When I got home, both Liang Tingxing and Guing were there. They must have heard the news on the broadcast too and were scheming together about how to use me. I could see the calculation in Gu Ying's eyes the moment she saw me. Sure enough, as soon as I sat down, Liang Tingxing got straight to the point and brought up the college entrance exam. Just like in my past life, Liang Tingxing told me to write Gu Ying's name on the exam paper. I made a troubled face. I have no problem putting Gu Ying's name down. It's just, I'm not sure if I can actually pass the exam myself. You still have over a month. Study hard, and I'm sure you'll pass. Guing, who already knew the outcome, looked at me with shining eyes. I'll give it my best shot, but if I fail, don't blame me. We won't. As long as you do your best, it'll be fine. Guing was practically beside herself with excitement. From now on, you don't have to do anything else. Just focus on your books and studying. I'll take care of everything at home. Guing was really going all out to get into university. I sneered inwardly. Well, wasn't that just so generous of her? From that day on, I threw myself into studying day and night. I didn't have to lift a finger at home. Liang Tingxing and Guing took on all the household chores. Just like that, over a month slipped by in the blink of an eye. On the morning of December 11th, 1977, I entered the examination hall with hope in my heart. To my surprise, even Liang Tingxing and Guing had taken time off to see me off for the exam. I knew perfectly well what they were hoping for. I took my seat in the exam hall, picked up my pen, and neatly wrote my name on the paper, Yang Jianing. The exam was a breeze. As I walked out of the test hall, both Liang Tingxing and Guing came up to meet me. How did it go? Not too bad, I replied, hearing my answer. Guing couldn't contain her excitement. That's fantastic. You're definitely going to get in. Let's go celebrate early. Liang Tingxing made a restaurant reservation, and we all went to enjoy a hearty meal together. The evening was undoubtedly a joyful one. Liang Tingxing, Guing, and I were all genuinely happy. Whatever was on our minds, in that moment, our happiness came from the heart. In our high spirits, we even had drinks to celebrate. I was toasting to my life finally being free of that scoundrel, Liang Tingxing. As for what Liang Tingxing and Guing were celebrating, I have no idea. I woke up later than usual the next morning, having had a few too many drinks the night before. Lying in bed, I heard loud banging on the door, accompanied by the sound of angry shouting. Open up. What time do you think it is? Yang Jianing, how can you still be asleep? Are you dead or something? The sound of the woman's hysterical cursing outside finally jolted me fully awake. Isn't that Liang Tingxing's mother's voice? What is she doing here? the next second. The shouting grew even more shrill. Everyone, come and judge for yourselves. What sin have I committed? My fine son married a barren woman. It's been 3 years, and she hasn't even conceived a child. I could overlook her infertility, but she's also disrespectful. For over a month now, she hasn't sent a single penny home, and she's still lazing in bed in broad daylight. The amplified voice of Liang Tingxing's mother echoed through the courtyard. I got up and opened the door. Liang Tingxing's mother barged in like a tigress. Yang Jianing, why are you still lazing in bed at this hour? Why aren't you at work? I heard you quit your job and are just sitting around waiting for my Tingxing to support you. What gives you, a barren hen, the right to live off my son? Liang Tingxing's mother has disliked me for a long time. In my past life, because I couldn't have children, she would berate me daily, and calling me a barren hen was one of the milder insults. In her cruelty, she would hurl every vile insult imaginable and even resort to pinching and twisting my skin. Back then, I believed I was the sinner and dared not resist in the slightest. I simply let her wear me down. Of course, nothing like that would ever happen now. I took a few steps back, waiting for Mrs. Liang Tingxing to catch her breath between curses before replying calmly, it's not that I won't go to work. It's that Tingxing had someone take over my job. What? Why would Tingxing have someone replace you? Who took your job? It's his brother's wife. Tingxing said he owed them a favor, and felt sorry for her being a widow with a child, so he gave her my position. What kind of nonsense is this? Since when did Tingxing owe them a favor? Tell me the name of the person who took your job. I'm going to have a serious talk with her today. A flicker of satisfaction warmed me inside, but I kept my face carefully blank, maintaining a meek and submissive expression. Mom, wouldn't it be improper for you to confront her like that? A widow and her child have to make ends meet too. Tingxing has been helping her out of pity. You mentioned not receiving the living allowance. It's not that I'm withholding it, but we simply don't have the money. I lost my job, and Tingxing has to use his salary to support that poor mother and child. So, what? Liang Tingxing's mother was no saint. Hearing that her son had not only given my job away but was also spending money on them, she was absolutely fuming, smoke practically billowing from her nostrils. They always say you raise a son for your old age. After all the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into putting Liang Tingxing through university, I've never been treated like this. What right does that woman, that Gu woman, have? I'm going to find her right now and demand to know just what gives her the right. I deliberately blocked her path to stop her, all the while recounting in meticulous detail how Liang Tingxing had been buying pork ribs, eggs, and brown sugar for Gu Ying and her son. Liang Tingxing's mother was so furious she was practically steaming from the ears, her teeth grinding audibly. You little bitch, just you wait. If I don't teach you a lesson, I'm not human. I made a half-hearted attempt to stop her, pretending to stumble and fall to the ground. Then I watched as Mrs. Liang, moving as if she had rocket boosters on her feet, charged straight off to find Gu Ying. Once Mrs. Liang was out of sight, I slowly picked myself up and ambled after her to catch the show. Mrs. Liang's combat prowess was in a league of its own. Things were about to get interesting, and sure enough, Liang Tingxing's mother soon stormed into Gu Ying's workplace. 7. Gu Ying, utterly bewildered, was called out. Liang Tingxing's mother charged up to her and demanded, so you're Gu Ying? Gu Ying recognized Liang Tingxing's mother. She nodded respectfully and said, yes, Auntie, you were looking for me. You goddamn little bitch. How dare you spend my son's money? How dare you steal my daughter-in-law's job? Amidst a torrent of curses, Liang Tingxing's mother lunged at her, arms and legs flailing. Gu Ying never dreamed in her wildest nightmares that Liang Tingxing's mother would resort to violence at the slightest provocation. Her face was slapped with sharp, stinging blows, and her hair was viciously yanked downward by Liang Tingxing's mother. Liang Tingxing's mother was as ferocious as a tigress. Gu Ying, already hesitant to fight back, stood no chance against her even if she had tried. Gu Ying was soon beaten by Liang Tingxing's mother until her nose and mouth bled, howling in agony. Not a single onlooker stepped in to pull them apart. They were all just there for the spectacle. I waited until Gu Ying had been beaten to a pulp before limping out to intervene. Liang Tingxing's mother turned her fury on me. It's all because of you, you useless barren hen. Can't even keep your own man in check, letting this little hussy have her way. She spat in Gu Ying's direction. Listen here, you little bitch. You better cough up everything you've taken from me. Every penny Tingxing spent on you, I want it all back, and that job too. Hand it over. The onlookers buzzed with gossip, all condemning Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying for their shameless affair. By the time Liang Tingxing got the news and rushed over, the whole scandal was already public knowledge. He saw the woman he loved, beaten black and blue, a horrific sight, surrounded by a crowd of people pointing and whispering. Liang Tingxing was absolutely livid. He pushed through the crowd, his face dark with fury, and stormed off, dragging his mother along. The incident became prime gossip material. People couldn't stop whispering and adding their own spicy details about Liang Tingxing and Guing behind their backs. As rumors multiplied, countless salacious versions of an alleged affair between Liang Tingxing and Guing began to circulate. The scandal blew up so big that Liang Tingxing and Guing had to sneak around, avoiding people whenever they went out. Liang Tingxing's workplace found out about the incident, and he was called in by his supervisor for a reprimand. His promotion and professional title evaluation were also put on hold, with his supervisor stating they would assess his future performance. Liang Tingxing was furious about this for a long time. In contrast, his mother seemed like a completely different person. She actually took the initiative to seek out Guing, apologize and admit her mistake, and voluntarily took on the responsibility of caring for Xiaobao. I saw through it but didn't say it out loud. It goes without saying that Liang Tingxing and Guing must have told her the truth. Once she learned that little Bao was her own flesh and blood, her attitude changed completely. After learning the truth, Liang Tingxing's mother's attitude towards Guing and little Bao shifted almost overnight. She'd be all smiles, inviting them over for meals every single day. All the best food and treats were reserved for little Bao alone. She was all sweetness and light with Guing, too, but her treatment of me was a different story. It was just like before. She'd fly off the handle at the slightest provocation, calling me a barren hen. She even colluded with Guing to pressure me into divorcing Liang Tingxing. I was more than eager to get away from these awful people. So when Liang Tingxing's mother came to tell me to get lost, I readily agreed. I've been with Liang Tingxing for 3 years and have nothing to show for it, not even a job. You can't treat me like this. A barren woman like you has no right to stay with my son. Hurry up and divorce him to make room. It's my fault I can't have children. But where am I supposed to go if I'm divorced and alone? I can't go back to my parents' home. I'd be the talk of the town. You can't just let me starve, can you? Seeing me say this, Liang Tingxing's mother's eyes darted shrewdly. Well then, would a bit of money to send you on your way suffice? Guing was confident her university admission was a sure thing. Knowing about Liang Tingxing's prosperous future from her past life, she was eager to make her relationship with him official right away. So, she conspired with Liang Tingxing's mother to pay me off and get rid of me. The three of us began negotiating in private. Liang Tingxing's mother and Guing raised their offer from 200 to 500 yuan. And I finally relented. The 500 yuan, combined with the money I had already received, should be enough to cover my living expenses at university. With the 500 yuan from Guing and Liang Tingxing's mother in hand, I promptly packed my things and left. But at the last moment, just as I was at the station, Liang Tingxing caught up and stopped me. Liang Tingxing held me, his face a mask of panic. Jianing, where are you going? Where do you think you're going without my permission? I was absolutely furious. Why couldn't this disgusting scumbag just drop dead? Why did he have to show up and ruin everything for me right now? Overwhelmed with anger and despair, I covered my face and wept bitterly. I can't have children. I can't give you the joy of a family or carry on the Liang family line. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be by your side. Just let me go. Don't talk nonsense. Jianing, you're my wife. The love of my life. You're staying with me for the rest of our days. And nothing and no one will ever tear us apart. That scumbag, Liang Tingxing, dragged me back from the train station by force. When they saw me return, both his mother and Gu Ying's faces fell. I have no idea what Liang Tingxing said to them, but neither of them dared to come and pester me anymore. His mother also stopped harping on about me not having children. She just made it clear that I had to pay her back the 500 yuan. There's no way I'm giving back money that's already in my hands. I told them I'd send it to my parents and would write to ask for it back. By making excuses and dragging things out, I left Liang Tingxing's mother and Guing with no choice. Unable to get her son to throw me out, Liang Tingxing's mother started making my life miserable in private. She pointed her finger in my face and cursed me out, while I just stood there, meek and silent, taking it all. 8. Upon finding out, Liangxing was furious and immediately ordered his mother to get back to the countryside. Liangxing's mother was also afraid of him. Not daring to confront her son, she resorted to other means, forcing me to go to the hospital for a checkup. She kept saying, "What's the point of keeping a hen that doesn't lay eggs? Our Liang family doesn't want a barren woman. You'd better go to the hospital and get checked out, see what the problem is. If it can be fixed, you can stay. If not, get lost and stop ruining my son's life." I'm still waiting to hold a few more grandsons. I was practically dragged to the hospital by Liangxing's mother for the examination. When the results came back, Everything was normal with me. After learning I hadn't conceived in 3 years, the doctor advised. You should have your husband come in for a checkup too. Infertility isn't always a woman's issue. Sometimes the problem lies with the man. Liang Tingxing's mother, standing nearby, was instantly furious upon hearing the doctor's words. What nonsense are you spouting? Who says my son can't father a child? He certainly can. He already has. Realizing she'd said too much, she abruptly stopped, pointing a vicious finger at me. She snarled. It's her. She's the one who's barren. She's a useless hen that can't lay an egg. On the way home, Liang Tingxing's mother cursed the doctor the whole time, calling him a quack and saying he was talking nonsense. She also told me that if I couldn't bear children, I should get lost and stop being a burden to her son. I tuned her out, treating her words as nothing but hot air. But in my mind, I was pondering something. In my previous life, I had gone to the hospital for a checkup about having a child. And the doctor said I was perfectly healthy, but I could never conceive a child. In my past life, I once suggested Liang Tingxing get checked, but he refused. He said having me by his side was enough, that we didn't need children. It's not that I never suspected the reason for our infertility might lie with Liang Tingxing, yet Liang Tingxing does have a child. He and Guiying had a child of their own. So if neither Liang Tingxing nor I are the problem, then what's the real reason? When I got home, both Liang Tingxing and Guiying had already returned from work. Liang Tingxing's mother gave me another earful right in front of Guiying. Guiying couldn't even hide the smirk on her face as she listened to Liang Tingxing's mother berate me. Liang Tingxing frowned as he tried to reason with her. He only managed to stop the scolding by handing little Bao over to his mother. Liang Tingxing's mother took little Bao out to play, leaving just me, Liang Tingxing, and Guiying in the house. With a dark expression, Liang Tingxing urged Guiying to leave. Jianing and I need to talk. You should go home first. Guiying left, clearly displeased. Liang Tingxing came over and tried to hug me. Jianing, I'm sorry you had to go through that. My mother has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Please try to bear with her. I gave a wry smile. I can't have children. This really is my fault. Liang Tingxing, your mother is right. Someone like me will end your family line. Maybe we should just get a divorce. Liang Tingxing shook his head with absolute resolve. Impossible. You're my wife. I won't divorce you. Jianing, no matter what happens, I'll face it with you. You are the only woman I'll ever call my wife. Looking at his earnest, solemn promise, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity in my heart. It's just so strange. If Liang Tingxing has already registered his marriage with Guiying, why has he kept it a complete secret from me? Both in this life and the last, why doesn't he just kick me out and be with his wife, Guiying, openly and legitimately? Why does he keep Guiying and his precious son hidden away outside? Does he just want to use me as a live-in maid and nanny? None of this makes any sense. Liang Tingxing later became incredibly successful, climbing all the way to the position of chief engineer. His salary was so high he could easily afford not just one housekeeper, but 3. So why did he keep hiding it from me all this time? I already gave the job he wanted for me to Guiying, and on the surface, I even took the college entrance exam in her place. That means I have no more value left for him to exploit. Why is Liang Tingxing still unwilling to let me go? Could Liang Tingxing really love me? Isn't that a joke? If he loves me, why would he secretly get a marriage certificate with Guiying? I couldn't find an answer in my heart. Just then, a heart-wrenching scream came from outside. Someone, come quick, something terrible has happened. Guiying and Liang Tingxing's son, Xiaobao, has had an accident. He was out with Liang Tingxing's mother when he accidentally ran into the middle of the road. A car happened to be coming, and the driver couldn't brake in time. Xiaobao was hit head-on and was rushed to the hospital, covered in blood. Upon hearing the news, Guiying's legs gave way beneath her, and Liang Tingxing had to half support her to the hospital. I followed the whole way, watching it all unfold with a cold detachment. In the previous life, little Bao grew up safe and sound without a single mishap. Why would something like this happen in this lifetime? To be honest, I felt not a shred of sympathy when little Bao was hit and injured by the car. After all, in my past life, I genuinely cared for little Bao. At the time, I didn't know he was the illegitimate son of Liang Tingxing and Guiying. While Guiying took over my job and went to work, I took care of him with all my heart. Since I had no children of my own, I treated him as if he were my own son. It wasn't until Guiying graduated from university and found a job that she came back and took him away. I can honestly say I never did him any wrong, yet he inherited all the viciousness, selfishness, and shamelessness of Guiying and Liang Tingxing. 9. I remember all too clearly the look on his face, and Guiying's, when they came to throw me out after Liang Tingxing's death. He sneered at me, "You foolish woman, you were just a tool to be used. My father and mother treated you like a maid, a servant. Now that my father's gone, it's time for you to get out." He violently forced me out of the house, shoving me to the ground. I remember the savage, mocking sneer on his face as clear as day. I'm not an evil person. But I'm not a saint with no bottom line either. I feel no sympathy for a creature devoid of gratitude and any moral compass, even if it's just a child now. It's destined to grow into a monster. Little Bao was fighting for his life in the hospital. Guing was crying herself into a near faint, while Liang Tingxing's mother was beating her chest in anguish, filled with regret. Liang Tingxing's face was dark and stormy, his expression grim. I was the only spectator, watching the drama unfold with complete detachment. Little Bao's injuries were too severe. He needed a blood transfusion. The hospital's blood bank didn't have enough, so they had to procure more type B blood. Liang Tingxing, his mother, and Guing were all in a daze and didn't notice, but I heard every word crystal clear. I know for a fact that Liang Ting has type A blood, while Guing has type O. So how on earth could little Bao possibly have type B blood? I look at Liang Tingxing, then I look at Guing. It suddenly dawns on me that little Bao, whether as a child, a teenager, or a young adult, bears absolutely no resemblance to Liang Tingxing. I remembered how I couldn't get pregnant despite having no physical problems, and I remembered what the doctor told me during the checkup. Infertility isn't always the woman's issue. A man's inability can also prevent having children. So, is it possible that Xiaobao isn't actually Liang Ting's child? Xiaobao was eventually revived at the hospital, although his life was no longer in danger. He lost a leg and became disabled. Guing was heartbroken, and Liang Tingxing was also deeply grieved. Of course, the one who suffered the most profound sorrow was Liang Tingxing's mother. It all happened because of her inadequate supervision. Liang Tingxing's mother remained in a state of profound grief for a very long time. I just couldn't relate to their joys and sorrows. My mind was completely consumed by thoughts of getting into university, and I was anxiously waiting for the college entrance exam results. Finally, the exam scores were released. On the day the results came out, I went to the admissions office first thing in the morning to get the news. Even though I didn't find the exam papers particularly difficult, I couldn't help feeling nervous. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders the moment I saw my score. I can finally get away from that disgusting creep, Liang Tingxing. I went straight to the admissions office, filled out the forms, and submitted them before heading home. Just as I was about to push the door open, I heard the shrill voice of Liang Tingxing's mother from inside. "Since this child is a lost cause, you two should just have another one," Guing said. "I do want a child, but Tingxing won't marry me. I can't just follow him around without any status and bear him two children who have to live in the shadows, can I?" "Tingxing, are you going to say something or not? What's so great about that barren woman that you're clinging to her like this? In my opinion, you should just divorce her and kick her out, then marry Guing and give me a big, healthy grandson." Liang Tingxing remained silent for a long while before saying, "Now is not the time to divorce Yang Jianing. Why? Why can't you divorce her?" Liang Tingxing's mother and Guing asked in unison. "I'm in the middle of a promotion and performance review. A messy divorce right now would be terrible for my career. Do you really want me to be stuck at this level forever?" So that's the real reason Liang Tingxing refused to leave me. In this life and the last, he wasted my entire life, for the sake of his job and his precious career prospects. Guing cried out upon hearing this. "So you're planning to waste your whole life on her? What about me and Xiaobao? What are we supposed to do?" Liang Tingxing coldly cut her off. "What's all the crying for? Xiaobao is disabled now. If you marry me, you'll have to take on his care. Are you really willing to spend your life looking after a cripple?" Liang Tingxing's voice was utterly devoid of warmth, and his words laid bare the impossible situation Guing now faced. She fell silent at once, to be perfectly honest. Of course she didn't want to spend her life caring for a disabled son, but she genuinely wanted to marry Liang Tingxing. "So what do you suggest we do? Didn't I just say, I'll keep living with Yang Jianing? She can take care of little Bao for you while you go to university. Then, we'll find time to have another child together." Yes, let's do exactly what Tingxing says. That barren woman will be so guilt-ridden. She'll obey Tingxing's every word and take good care of little Bao. And you two should hurry up and have a healthy child of your own. No time like the present. Let's get started in the next few days. Liang Tingxing's mother clapped her hands in approval, eager to see him and Guing start having children right away. I turned and walked away. How can someone be so despicable? They want me to take care of their disabled child, Xiaobao, wasting the rest of my life for them, while they secretly have another healthy child and go on with their happy lives. I have to say, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's plan is absolutely brilliant. Liang Tingxing, not everything is going to go according to your plan. If you think you can trap me for the rest of my life, you'll need my permission first. I took a stroll outside before leisurely making my way home. The three of them, having settled their discussion, were chatting idly in the living room as if nothing had happened. When I returned, Liang Tingxing's mother, for once, took the initiative to speak to me. "Where have you been?" "Just went out for a walk. I heard the Gaokao results came out today. Have you checked your score yet?" Gu Ying asked. Reminded of the college entrance exam when she saw me, I said flatly, "Should be another couple of days." "Right, really, don't forget to let me know when the time comes." "Don't worry, I won't forget you, it's just," I paused before asking Gu Ying, "with your son's condition, are you really at ease leaving for university? Who are you planning to leave him with? Given his situation, it's unlikely anyone would take him in for you, right? Are you really going to send him to a welfare home?" My barrage of questions visibly soured Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing's expressions. The two despicable people hemmed and hawed. "We'll talk about Xiaobao later. We need to see his college entrance exam scores first before deciding anything," I offered a pointed reminder. "You need to think carefully about the child's situation. As his mother, you must plan for Xiaobao's future, especially given his condition." I could tell Gu Ying took my words to heart, not to mention that Xiaobao was now disabled. In her past life, she wasn't even willing to be a responsible mother to a perfectly healthy Xiaobao, let alone to a cripple. She probably couldn't resist hooking up with Liang Tingxing to prepare for what comes next. Right, that evening, I went to bed early as usual. Liang Tingxing came in to check on me several times. Once he was sure I was asleep, he left. 10. I opened my eyes, listening to the sound of Liang Tingxing's departing footsteps with a cold sneer. Roughly a quarter of an hour later, I quietly got out of bed and slipped outside. The neighboring courtyard was lit, its gate left slightly ajar. I gently pushed the door open and crept to the window, from which came the sound of unspeakable noises. With a cold sneer on my face, I turned and walked to the doorway, grabbed a few handfuls of firewood, and struck a match to light it. Soon, thick smoke billowed outside. I raised my voice and began to shout, "Fire! Help! Fire!" In the dead of night, my sharp, piercing voice carried far into the distance. Quickly, neighbors from all around rushed out with buckets in hand and charged into the courtyard where Gu Ying lived. The flames surged fiercely, licking at the windows. Before someone kicked the door open, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying, completely naked, were put on a spectacular, unwitting display for the crowd. I stood among the onlookers, watching the panic-stricken expressions on Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's faces. The two of them were left exposed and utterly disgraced. The fire was out, but not a single onlooker had left. I pushed through the crowd, rushed up, and started slapping Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying across their faces. "You adulterous scum, how long have you been sneaking around behind my back? How could you treat me like this?" Liang Tingxing's face was red and swollen from my slaps, his expression one of utter shock. He actually tried to explain, "Jianing, it's not what you think, it's really not what you think, rolling around naked together, what else could it mean?" Liang Tingxing, "You bastard, you've gone too far. A lifetime's worth of hatred, no, 2 lifetimes worth," exploded out of me in that instant. I went at Liang Tingxing, hitting, scratching, and biting. I beat Liang Tingxing until his face was swollen and bruised, blood streaming from his nose and mouth. Gu Ying, overcome with pity for him, actually tried to step in and stop me. Did she really think I'd let her get away with that? I grabbed Gu Ying by the hair and flung her to the ground. I beat Gu Ying until there wasn't a single patch of unbruised skin left on her body. She glared at me with pure venom. "You set us up, didn't you, Yang Jianing, you bitch." The fallout from this incident was immense. In this day and age, engaging in illicit sexual relations could land you in prison. The scandal involving Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying couldn't be swept under the rug. The very next day, Liang Tingxing was notified by his work unit to suspend his duties for self-reflection. An uncertain future now lay ahead of him. Gu Ying, who had taken over my job, hadn't even finished her probationary period. After causing such a disgraceful scandal, she was summarily fired by the company without any objection. Gossip about Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing was spreading like wildfire. Everyone was telling vivid, detailed stories about how they were carrying on behind my back. Some even claimed they were fooling around together every night after I fell asleep. Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing's reputations were completely ruined. Liang Tingxing's mother was absolutely furious. While her son was fooling around with Gu Ying, she was stuck at the hospital taking care of their injured, disabled child, Xiaobao, so she had no idea what had happened. When she found out I had ruined her son and Gu Ying, she actually had the nerve to come after me. She still thought I was that meek, timid Yan Jianing. She actually pointed her finger right in my face and started screaming at me. It's all because of you, you jinx. Tingxing lost his job because of you. What do you think you're going to live on now? I didn't indulge her. The moment she pointed her finger in my face and started screaming, I slapped her right across the cheek. Liang Tingxing's mother was stunned by the slap. Her hand trembled as she pointed at me. You hit me. You ungrateful wretch. I'm going to report you to the authorities. Go ahead and report me. I'll be waiting, I said, staring at her coldly. You can drop the act now. You knew all about your son's dirty little secret, didn't you? You knew he had a child with Guing from their affair, and yet you still tried to use me, to make me your family's slave. Your whole family is beneath contempt, you ungrateful wretch. How dare you hit me? I'm going straight to the police station to report you for assaulting an elder. I crossed my arms and sneered. Go ahead and report me. Let me remind you. Did your son ever tell you that we are not legally married? Liang Tingxing's mother was stunned. What do you mean? Your son and Guing are the legally married couple. Your son lied to me. We never even registered our marriage. Upon hearing this, Liang Tingxing's mother's eyes lit up. So you're saying my son and Guing are the real married couple? Their relationship isn't illegal, then his job is safe. She was overjoyed, thinking she had found a lifeline, while I stood behind her, letting out a series of cold, mocking laughs. Not believing me, Liang Tingxing's mother went to ask her son directly. The result confirmed that Liang Tingxing and I were indeed not legally married. Ecstatic, she urged Liang Tingxing to clear things up, hoping to save his job. Liang Tingxing also saw a glimmer of hope and tried to get me to step in and help clear his name. He knelt before me, apologizing through tears and sobs. Jianing, it's always been you I love, Guing and I. It was all her scheme to trap me. I was drunk and she seduced me. Then she used it to blackmail me. I was afraid you'd leave me if you found out, so I didn't dare speak up. I'm a victim too. I was forced into marrying her. Watching Liang Tingxing weep and wail, I couldn't help but laugh. Do you really think I'd believe a word you say at this point? Liang Tingxing, let me make this clear. You, Guing, and your son drove me to my death once already. Do you honestly think I'd be foolish enough to fall for your excuses in this second life? Liang Tingxing's face went deathly pale. You really have been reborn, just like Guing. I nodded. That's right, exactly. Seeing me confirm it, Liang Tingxing was utterly dumbstruck. Impossible. How could this be? He was still trying to explain and shirk responsibility. Jianing, I had no choice. It's you I love. I never intended to marry Guing. She forced me to secretly change the name on the certificate to hers, threatening to report me for rape if I didn't. I was backed into a corner. Please forgive me. I had no idea Guing would turn on you so viciously after I died. I truly didn't know. Jianing, I was wrong. Forgiveness is out of the question. Liang Tingxing, you and Guing are two of a kind, partners in crime. You deserve each other as husband and wife. Seeing that I refused to forgive him, Liang Tingxing turned vicious. Jianing, what can a barren woman like you possibly do without me? Let me make this clear. It's only because I'm fond of you that I tolerate your infertility. Any other woman would have been beaten and thrown out long ago. 11. So what? Am I supposed to thank you for wasting my life like this? I just wanted you to know how much I love you. Jianing, for the sake of our time as husband and wife, please help me. Go to my supervisor and explain that we weren't a real couple. That Guing and I weren't having an affair. We're the real couple. That way I won't be fired. If I can keep my job, I'll take care of you. I promise I'll support you for the rest of your life. Why on earth would I need you to support me? I have my own 2 hands and feet. I can take care of myself perfectly well. Why would I ever rely on a liar like you? But you can't have children. A woman who can't bear children is destined to be looked down upon. What happens to me is none of your concern. Liang Tingxing, let me share some wonderful news. I'm going to university. What? You're going to university? Didn't you take the exam for Guing? Don't tell me. You've been deceiving me all along. That's right. I was foolish enough to do the same thing once in my past life. Once was more than enough. How could I possibly be that stupid again? The moment I found out you and Guing were in cahoots, I made my decision. Liang Tingxing, I hope you and Guing live well with your disabled son. Before I leave, I'll give you a little parting gift. I hope you like it. After my cold rejection, Liang Tingxing screamed curses at my back with a viciousness that was shocking. His language as foul as his mother's. I packed my things and got ready to leave. As I was leaving, Guing blocked my path. Yang Jianing, how dare you scheme against me? You bitch. My reply was 2 sharp slaps across the face, and Guing fell to the floor. I pressed my foot down on her chest, leaned in close, and spoke each word with deliberate menace. You'd better not cross me, or your little secret won't be a secret for long. Guing covered her face, staring at me in disbelief. What are you implying? You know exactly what I'm implying. You, more than anyone, know the truth about how your precious Xiaobao came into this world. Passing off another man's child as Liang Tingxing's son, you played this game for what feels like 2 lifetimes, haven't you? Weren't you ever afraid of being exposed? A flash of panic crossed Gu Ying's face, and her defiant air vanished in an instant. I wasn't entirely sure Liang Tingxing was infertile, I just wanted to bluff Gu Ying. I never expected Gu Ying to crumble so completely. Her refusal to fight back and her sheer panic said it all. This is just too good. I shoved Gu Ying aside, turned, and walked away. She scrambled after me, calling out, "Are you going to tell Liang Tingxing, Yan Jianing? I'm warning you, if you dare to snitch, you'll regret it." Even now, she still has the nerve to bluff and threaten me. Some people never change. I originally wanted her and Liang Tingxing to be stuck with each other for life, but Gu Ying's threat made me reconsider. After 2 lifetimes of hatred, why on earth should I let her off the hook? Even a clay figure has its limits. I'm going to make Gu Ying understand the consequences of her arrogance. Liang Tingxing and his mother made a desperate, last-ditch effort to save his job, but I beat him to it by sending a letter of complaint to the Commission for Discipline Inspection. The letter detailed Liang Tingxing's moral corruption, his deception and exploitation of women. The Commission took it very seriously and dispatched investigators. The ironclad evidence was laid bare for all to see. There was no way Liang Tingxing's workplace could save him anymore. He was spectacularly fired. A week later, my acceptance letter arrived. I took it and boarded the train bound for the capital. Before I left, I gave Liang Tingxing a long overdue parting gift. I told Liang Tingxing that he was infertile, and that his so-called biological son, Xiaobao, was actually Gu Ying's bastard child with another man. What Liang Tingxing does is none of my concern, knowing the despicable man he is. I doubt Gu Ying and her son, Xiaobao, met a good end. Sure enough, not long after I reported for duty in the capital, I heard a fellow townsman vividly recount a horrifying dismemberment case. The male lead is named Liang Tingxing, the female lead is Gu Ying, and there's a supporting character, their disabled son, Xiaobao. Liang Tingxing was sentenced to death with immediate execution for intentional homicide. Upon hearing this news, I gave a faint smile. Story 2. After the 9th failed attempt at in vitro fertilization, even the doctor advised me to give up. While I was hesitating whether to make one last effort, I accidentally overheard a conversation between my husband, Shen Mo, and his childhood friend, Shen Mo. "Zhou Ying's uterus has reached its limit. Do you still not want her to give birth to your child this time? She doesn't deserve it. The more she wants to have a baby, the less I'll let her. This is the price she has to pay for driving Yaya away and forcing me to marry her." A chill ran through my body. It turned out that he had always believed that the reason Yaya broke up with him back then was because of me. He married me only to take revenge on me. Distraught, I got into a car accident while crossing the road. In the last moment before my death, I saw Shen Mo rushing over to save me, only to be hit and sent flying himself. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the time when he was defying his family for Zhou Siyue, penniless and living in a shabby rented apartment. Shen Mo, Mom and Dad, Yaya is the best woman in the world. You can't look down on her just because of her background. One day, I will definitely prove to you how wrong you are. Zhou Siyue, uncle and aunt. Although my background can't compare with Zhou Ying's, my love for Shen Mo is no less than hers. I don't expect you to accept me now, but I beg you not to be disappointed in Shen Mo because of me. Shen Mo, Yaya, stop talking, let's go. Shen's mother, Shen Mo, you will regret this. Ying is such a good girl, but you don't want her. Instead, you insist on this unseemly green tea. Shen's father, get out. I don't have a son as stupid as you. From now on, there will be no Shen Mo in the Shen family. The above conversation was so familiar that it made me feel dazed. Didn't I die? Why am I back on the day when Shen Mo brought Zhou Siyue in front of his parents, saying that he didn't want to fulfill the arranged marriage with me and instead wanted to marry Zhou Siyue? It was also on this day that, despite his parents' firm opposition, Shen Mo resolutely chose to sever ties with the Shen family, and Zhou Siyue also moved out of my house. The two started from scratch and lived a poor life. Yes, Zhou Siyue lived in my house, but she has no blood relation with me at all. She is just an adopted daughter of my family. When I was 6 years old, my parents, who didn't plan to have a second child, worried that I would be too lonely without siblings, so they took me to an orphanage and chose Zhou Siyue, who was the same age as me, and Zhou Siyuan, who was 3 years older than me, to come home with us. The reason why Shen's parents looked down on Zhou Siyue was not because of her background as Shen Mo claimed. It was because Zhou Siyue stabbed me in the back. Knowing that Shinemo and I had a marriage contract and that I liked him, she still got together with him. What Shin's parents despised was Jo Siyue's character. Shin's father's scolding of Shinemo as stupid was actually too mild. Before this incident happened, not only the two sets of parents but also I didn't know that Shinemo and Jo Siyue had already been together. Now, in order to be together, they are willing to break with their families. On one side is Shinemo, who was supposed to stand by my side and be my life partner. On the other side is Jo Siyue, a sister whom I trusted with all my heart, closer than a blood-related sister. On this day in my previous life, I was betrayed twice, and it felt like the sky had fallen. I resented them, since they were in love. Why didn't they just tell me? Why did they have to embarrass me on the day when the two sets of parents were officially finalizing the marriage? Even though I liked Shinemo, I wasn't the type to cling to someone. I still knew how to fulfill others. But when I saw how hard they were struggling without the aureole of the Zhou and Shin families, I couldn't help but feel pity. Needless to say, my parents were furious. After raising such an ungrateful person as Jo Siyue, they immediately removed her from our household register. Announced to the public that she was no longer the adopted daughter of the Zhou family, and took back everything they had given her. Shin's parents, on the other hand, mainly wanted to force Shinemo to yield to reality. They also spread the word to all business partners in the industry to put Shinemo on the blacklist. Even all of Shinmo's friends and classmates received warnings not to help him privately, under such all-around suppression. As long as Shinemo and Jo Siyue stayed in the country, they would definitely not be able to find a proper job. They could only rely on part-time jobs, doing manual labor every day to earn a meager few dozen or 100 yuan to barely make ends meet. In less than a month, the two of them went from being bright and beautiful to being thin, haggard, and listless. During this period, Jo Siyue contacted me privately several times. She cried and begged for my forgiveness, repeatedly saying that she was willing to step back and fulfill me and Shinemo. She only begged me to ask both sets of parents to stop suppressing Shinemo, and she was willing to do anything. She sent me many photos of Shinemo, who could only carry cement at a construction site because he couldn't find a job. She said that Shinemo was capable of starting his own company, and if it weren't for me, Shinemo wouldn't have to suffer like this. She said that if being with me was the only way for Shinemo to showcase his talents, she could make everything go back to the beginning. In short, she just wanted me to step in, persuade the two families to stop suppressing them, and accept them. Logically, I knew that they deserved to suffer, but emotionally, I couldn't harden my heart in the face of Jo Siyue's repeated pleas. In the end, I secretly had someone pretend to be an investor to fund Shinmo's startup. I thought that it was only a matter of time before they achieved their goal and won the recognition of Shin's parents. However, half a year later, when I accepted my parents' arrangement and agreed to marry Jo Siyue, who would move into the Zhou family, Jo Siyue sent me a text message saying that she was sorry for me and asking me to accept Shinemo again, and then she disappeared. The last information I could find was that a sum of money had been deposited into her account, and she had boarded a flight abroad. After Jo Siyue left, Shinemo seemed to have changed completely. He lost his previous recklessness and impulsiveness and became calm and patient. He took the initiative to return to the Shin family and apologized to his parents. He also told me that his relationship with Jo Siyue before wasn't love, he was just rebelling against his parents' control. But during his time outside, he realized his feelings for me and began to pursue me persistently and propose to me. Under his passionate pursuit and the help of Shin's parents, I naively thought that what he said was true. So, although my parents were dissatisfied with Shinemo and opposed our marriage, because I liked him, they finally gave their consent. After marriage, Shinemo fulfilled all the promises he made before marriage. He treated me wholeheartedly and gave me a great sense of security. He took care of everything related to me perfectly, and we never quarreled. He would create surprises for me on all major and minor festivals. He made me firmly believe that I was the woman he loved deeply and cherished. Everything in our married life was perfect, except that I still hadn't been able to get pregnant. Shinemo and I went to the hospital for an examination. He was in good health, while I had polycystic ovaries, making it difficult to conceive naturally. In order to give birth to an heir for the two families, I started taking medicine to regulate my body. When I still couldn't get pregnant after taking medicine, I had to choose in vitro fertilization. The first IVF attempt was successful. When I got pregnant with my first baby, I was overjoyed and personally decorated the nursery, buying a lot of baby items. I also learned to sew clothes myself, hoping that my baby could wear clothes made by me after birth. I was eagerly looking forward to the baby's birth, but not long after my pregnancy became noticeable. The doctor told me that the baby had stopped developing. I couldn't accept the loss of my first baby and was so heartbroken that I cried for a week. It was only under Shinmo's careful care and gentle comfort that I gradually recovered from my grief. Shinmo repeatedly comforted me that as long as we tried hard, the lost baby would come back. Therefore, as soon as my body recovered, I arranged for a second IVF attempt. Just like the first time, I got pregnant smoothly, but also like the first time, the baby stopped developing not long after. After that, every time I got pregnant smoothly, but for various reasons, the baby stopped developing. No matter how much effort I made, no matter how carefully I stayed in bed from the moment I got pregnant to try to keep the baby, God still wouldn't fulfill my wish to have a child, unexpectedly. It wasn't that God didn't want to fulfill my wish, it was clearly that Shinmo didn't want me to give birth. The person I thought loved me the most actually hated me to the core. I couldn't imagine that every time I was working hard to get pregnant and keep the baby, did he watch coldly from behind and laugh at my stupidity and poor judgment. If I hadn't accidentally overheard his conversation with his childhood friend, I would have continued to be kept in the dark. But I couldn't figure out that since he hated me so much, why did he risk his life to save me when I had a car accident? Since I couldn't figure it out, I simply stopped thinking about it. Anyway, now that I've seen Shinmo's true face, in this second chance at life, I won't make the same mistakes again. I left the Shin family with my parents and returned to the Zhou family. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Zhou Siyuan standing at the door waiting for us. Seeing him, my mother thought of Zhou Siyuan's betrayal and took out her anger on him. After raising you two for so many years, I end up with two ungrateful wretches. Zhou Siyuan is no good, and you're no better. You leave too. I don't want to see you in the Zhou family. I stared blankly at Zhou Siyuan, feeling as if I had traveled through time. Although he was the target of my mother's anger, his deep eyes were calm, and his face showed the familiar calmness and self-control. He was completely different from the furious appearance I saw the last time in my previous life. That time, after the third failed pregnancy, I became obsessed. Before my body had fully recovered, I insisted on having a fourth IVF attempt. When he heard the news and rushed to the Shin family, he was extremely angry. He blamed Shinmo for not taking good care of me and even hit Shinmo. That was the first time I saw Zhou Siyuan lose control of his emotions and get angry. At that time, he warned Shinmo that if he still couldn't take good care of me, as my brother, he wouldn't let him off. Afterwards, when my parents learned about this, instead of blaming Zhou Siyuan, they sided with him and criticized Shinmo. At that time, because of the pregnancy issue, my thoughts became very extreme. I desperately wanted to get pregnant and welcome the baby's birth. Anyone who tried to stop me was regarded as my enemy. I couldn't see the pain and concern in their eyes and only believed that their opposition was to go against me. I unilaterally regarded Zhou Siyuan as an enemy, even my parents. I began to avoid seeing them. Later, after being recognized by my parents, Zhou Siyuan became the heir of the Zhou group. Even though he had the upper hand in business, he still repeatedly gave in to Shinmo, just hoping that Shinmo would treat me better. Even though he did so much, I still didn't want to see him. Thinking of these things, I felt deeply guilty towards Zhou Siyuan, the adopted brother I had always ignored, and towards my parents. Seeing that my mother was still angry and wanted to continue taking out her anger on Zhou Siyuan, I quickly interrupted. Mom, brother is different from Zhou Siyuan, don't drive him away. As soon as I said this, my parents and Zhou Siyuan all showed expressions of disbelief. I suddenly felt a little embarrassed. No wonder they were so surprised. In the past, I liked to hang out with Zhou Siyuan and always ignored the dull and uninteresting Zhou Siyuan even more. I had never called Zhou Siyuan brother and always called him by his name. Under their intense gaze, I could only clumsily change the subject. Mom and Dad, I've decided that I want to join the company. This statement caused another shock. Since I was a child, thanks to my parents' concept of raising me in a well-off environment, I never worried about money. My parents often said that they would always support me, and I only needed to be happy and do what I liked. Because of their unconditional love, I could easily get whatever I wanted since I was a child. As a result, I didn't have anything I particularly liked or any strong interests. After I graduated, my parents had suggested many times that I join the company, but I was only interested in having fun and refused them repeatedly. Gradually, my parents gave up the idea. This time I took the initiative to propose joining the company, so no wonder they were surprised. But soon, my parents quickly recovered. My father readily agreed. It's good to join the company. It's good to be busy, my mother echoed. That's right, that's right. Let your brother guide you. If you don't understand something, just ask him. Zhou Siyuan just nodded. Okay, me. The decision to join the company wasn't a spur of the moment idea. After the lessons of my previous life, in this second chance at life, I no longer want to let others control my destiny. After taking a shower, I lay in bed, trying hard to recall the events of my previous life and analyze the trends of business opportunities that could help the company's development. However, the more I thought about it, the more I hated myself for my past ignorance. Since marrying Shen Mo, I completely ignored everything else and devoted myself to him. I was so infatuated that I indulged in his lies and didn't care about the company at all. As a result, I couldn't remember many important projects that could expand the company. Just as I was feeling frustrated, my phone rang. I picked it up irritably and saw that it was a text message from Shen Mo. I'm sorry. These 3 simple words left me stunned. In my previous life, Shen Mo severed ties with his family and cancelled our engagement for Zhou Siyue. From beginning to end, he never said a single word of apology to me. Yes, looking back carefully, even when Shen Mo pursued me again later, he only deceived me by saying that he had realized he loved me. He never said he regretted it, nor did he utter those 3 words. I'm sorry. My hand holding the phone couldn't help but tremble. It wasn't out of fear, I was trembling with anger. Since I was able to be reborn, Shen Mo could have been reborn too. He must have been reborn as well. Is this apology meant for me from the previous life, or for me now? I shook my head and thought self-deprecatingly, does it really matter? Humph. Of course it doesn't matter. How much is his apology worth? Even if a despicable person is reborn, they remain despicable. It's good that we were both reborn. That way, I can settle the score with him thoroughly. My hands shaking with anger, I poked at the screen vigorously and typed out each word one by one. I won't forgive you. Let's delete each other. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I hit send, then immediately deleted and blocked Shen Mo, and closed all ways of adding me. Even after doing all this, I still couldn't calm down. Thinking of the 9 babies who never got to see the world in my previous life, my heart felt blocked. I experienced the despair of looking forward to a baby's birth and then losing it 9 times. Shen Mo just watched my pain coldly. Those were his own flesh and blood too. How could he be so heartless? What's the use of an apology? I wish I could make Shen Mo pay with his life right now. Ying, what's wrong with you? It's okay. Don't hurt yourself like this. Zhou Siyuan's anxious voice came from beside my ear, and I was tightly hugged. I looked down at the strands of hair in my hand and realized that, just like in my previous life, I had unconsciously started pulling my hair when I lost control of my emotions. Under Zhou Siyuan's gentle soothing, I gradually calmed down in his arms. He carefully wiped away my tears and said, Ying, if you really can't live without Shen Mo, I'll help you. Please don't hurt yourself. Okay. I pushed him away, hiding my pain with a cold expression. I don't want Shen Mo. What I want is to make sure he can never return to the Shen family, that he lives his whole life in poverty and misery. You'll help me, right? My words made a flash of surprise cross Zhou Siyuan's eyes. But he quickly nodded without hesitation. I'll help you with whatever you want to do. Even though he didn't understand why I hated Shen Mo so much, it didn't stop him from standing firmly by my side. Zhou Siyuan was a man of action. Before I even had a clue about how to make Shen Mo pay the price, in just one night, he came up with several plans for me to choose from, taking the printed plans from his hand and looking at the dark circles under his eyes. I didn't need to guess to know that he had stayed up all night because of my words. My feelings were suddenly complicated. To be honest, I had never truly regarded Zhou Siyuan as my brother from the bottom of my heart. I only saw him as a tool my parents found to help me manage the family property. In name, he was an adopted son of our family, trained as an heir by my parents. He worked hard for the Zhou family in the company. On the surface, he seemed to have status and real power, but in fact, he didn't own any shares of the company, only having the right to manage it on behalf of the family. I couldn't understand how human nature could be so complex. Zhou Siyue and I used to be so close that we often shared the same bed and talked until dawn. We played together happily and shared our sorrows. She was a month younger than me, and I treated her like a real sister. She had everything I had. Whenever my parents bought me a gift, they would always get a pair. And she could get whatever she wanted just by asking. She had never been wronged in the Zhou family, so why did she betray me in the end and betrayed my parents' kindness in raising her? On the contrary, Zhou Siyuan, who had been ignored and treated coldly by me since he came to the Zhou family and was strictly treated and demanded by my parents, was completely loyal to the Zhou family, at least until my death in the previous life. Zhou Siyuan still stayed in the Zhou family without any second thoughts, helping me manage the company, taking care of my parents, and trying his best to repair the rift between me and my parents. Ying, Zhou Siyuan called out to me softly. I blinked, realizing that I had fallen into the memories of the previous life again. I quickly lowered my head to look at the plans Zhou Siyuan had made, trying to hide my unease. I knew that I had a psychological problem. I also knew clearly that seeing a psychologist wouldn't help. As long as the knot in my heart remained, I would never be able to get over it, so it was best to focus my energy on dealing with Shen Mo and resolve the issue quickly. Upon looking at the plans, I found that each one was more ruthless than the last. There was a plan to register a shell investment company, sign a gambling-like agreement with Shen Mo to invest in his startup, then plant business spies to obtain his supplier list. Create a panic by faking a broken capital chain, bribe quality inspectors to issue defect reports so that his products couldn't be delivered smoothly, and make Shen Mo bear high debts when he lost the bet. There was a plan to sow discord between Shen Mo and Zhou Siyue, bribing a woman to have a relationship with Shen Mo and let Zhou Siyue find out. There was a plan to get Shen Mo addicted to gambling, destroying his will and ruining him from the root. The most ruthless one was to directly target the Shin group and bring it down from the source. Without his background, Shen Mo would naturally find it hard to rise again. After reading these, I had a new understanding of Zhou Siyuan. There were both open and covert methods, fair and underhanded strategies, but these methods would more or less soil our hands. It was clear that Zhou Siyuan had completely misunderstood my intentions. I didn't want Zhou Siyuan to get himself into trouble while dealing with Shen Mo. I shook my head. These methods won't work. Upon hearing this, as if afraid that I thought he was incompetent, Zhou Siyuan said eagerly and a bit dejectedly, then I'll think of new ones. He didn't even ask me what was wrong with them. If he were a hard-working contractor, then I would be the annoying client. I already had an idea and quickly refused. No need, I thought of a way. Zhou Siyuan's face immediately fell. Seeing this, I quickly added, I'll join the company as your assistant. Can you teach me how to manage the company? Zhou Siyuan perked up immediately. Me, why hadn't I noticed before that Zhou Siyuan was so expressive? When I told Zhou Siyuan that I had thought of a way, I wasn't fooling him. I had really come up with a plan. In the previous life, Shen Mo wasn't given up by his parents. He was able to return to the Shin family just by saying he regretted it and apologizing. Wasn't it because he was the only son of the Shin family, and his parents couldn't really abandon him and hand over the huge family business to an outsider? But if Shin's parents had a second child, the situation would be different. My mother once told me that, just in case, they had frozen their sperm and eggs when they were young. As long as we made Shin's parents extremely disappointed in Shen Mo, they would be tempted to have a second child. As for how to make them disappointed in Shen Mo, it was even easier to do. Didn't Shen Mo love Zhou Siyue and think he couldn't live without her? In the previous life, no matter who gave Zhou Siyue a sum of money and helped her go abroad and disappear so that Shen Mo couldn't find her, in this life, I would make sure they were inseparable. Lost in my thoughts, I had breakfast at home with Zhou Siyuan and was about to go to the company in his car. As soon as we went out, we saw Shen Mo, who had been standing outside my villa for God knew how long. When I saw him, I stopped in my tracks, but Shen Mo stepped forward eagerly. Just as he was about to get close to me, Zhou Siyuan stepped in front of me. What are you doing here? Blocked by Zhou Siyuan, Shen Mo's face darkened, and he said impatiently, it's none of your business, this is between me and Ying. After saying that, he looked at me and asked matter-of-factly, Ying, why did you block me? I sneered, I didn't just block you, I also told you not to show up in front of me. What are you doing here? He didn't expect me to be so cold to him. His expression froze, and he became even more anxious. I have something to tell you. I know you're angry with me right now. I did hurt you, but I don't want our relationship to turn sour. Can you give me a chance to make it up to you? Did he even listen to what nonsense he was saying? How could a person be so shameless? He had the nerve to say it, and I felt embarrassed for him. Make it up. With what? Did he think that just because he was reborn and knew the future, he could act as if the harm he did to me in the previous life never happened and ask for my forgiveness under the pretext of making amends with a clear conscience? Fine, even if I forgave him, what would he do next? Where would he put me? Would he make me stand by and watch him be affectionate with Zhou Siyue? Or would he give up on the Zhou Siyue he loved so deeply? My gaze crossed him and landed on Zhou Siyue, who had come with him and was hiding behind the corner, half of her body showing. I asked him, Aren't you worried that my sister will be jealous and misunderstand when you pester me and say these things? I emphasized the word sister sarcastically. Shinemo said self-righteously, yeah, also feels guilty towards you, she'll understand me. I looked at Josue, whose expression turned jealous and angry after hearing his words, and sneered inwardly, then you two can spend the rest of your lives together, bound by your guilt towards me. As for your compensation, I don't need it, I'll say it again, I won't forgive you. After mocking Shinemo, I took the initiative to link my arm with Josue, who was still standing in front of Shinemo, vigilantly preventing him from getting close to me. Unlike my cold attitude towards Shinemo, I said gently to him, brother, let's go. Seeing my different treatment, Shinemo couldn't accept it. In the previous life and until yesterday, I had always been delicate and dependent on him. My temper was so good that even when I was angry with him, he could easily coax me happy with just a few words or a small gift. I had never lost my temper with him, nor had I ever said anything harsh to him. That's why he thought I would still be as easy to please as before, that he cooed me back with a few soft words and a gift. Now, seeing my obviously different attitude towards Josue, he panicked and stopped us again, preventing us from getting into the car. Pointing at Josue and looking at me, he said angrily, did he say something to you? That's why you're treating me like this. Inging, he's a despicable person, don't believe him. When I heard him speak ill of Josue, I couldn't help but slap him, interrupting his words, shut up. I won't allow you to talk about him like that. Suddenly slapped in the face, instead of shutting up, Shinemo became even more excited. Inging, you hit me for him, if you say one more bad word about him, I'll hit you again. My words made Shinmo's eyes go blank. As if he couldn't accept it, he muttered to himself, no, it shouldn't be like this. I rolled my eyes. While he was stunned, I got into the car with Josue and left. As the car passed by Josue, our eyes met. Her expression was distorted, and her eyes were filled with hatred for me. I sneered at her, so she wasn't pretending to be affectionate as sisters anymore. Before the car reached the company, I received a message from Josue on WeChat. Josue, he's mine, it must be the butterfly effect. In the previous life, Josue had never me like this from beginning to end. I deliberately provoked her back. Before getting married, anyone has a chance. Josue, I won't let you have him. Was I being too suspicious? There was something strange about her words, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I didn't reply to Josue's message anymore and turned to look at Josue, who had been keeping his head down and was unusually silent since getting in the car. I was confused. Brother, what's wrong? I was getting more and more used to calling Josue brother. He wasn't used to it yet and didn't react immediately that I was calling him. After a long while, he looked up at me and denied it. It's nothing, fine, everyone has things they don't want to talk about. I wouldn't keep asking. If he didn't want to say, then he didn't have to. I lowered my head and started contacting the public relations department of the Zhou group, not noticing that Josue was peeking at me. I asked the PR department to use the official account of the Zhou group to directly announce the cancellation of my engagement with Shinemo. I had them clearly state the reason. Shinemo cheated on me with Josue, the adopted daughter of the Zhou family. For the sake of true love, he was willing to sever ties with the Shin family and cancel the engagement with the real daughter of the Zhou family. Before, because of my engagement with Shinemo, every time the Zhou and Shin families had a joint project, the media would publicize the love story of the childhood sweethearts, the well-matched young master and young lady. So, there were many fans on the internet who shipped me and Shinemo. Now, I didn't want anyone to pair me with Shinemo anymore. I didn't leave them any dignity. As soon as this announcement came out, Shinemo and Josue's reputations were ruined. Even the resourceful netizens, through clues, found their alternate accounts and discovered that the two of them had been together for 2 years. The alternate accounts were filled with photos of their secret dates behind my back, or pictures of them secretly holding hands when the three of us went out together. Josue's alternate account flaunted her love openly as a mistress. Her signature read, "True love is not a sin, face your true feelings bravely for love." Before these posts were exposed by Mai and Shinmo's former CP fans, her remarks attracted many like-minded followers, under each post recording how she and Shinemo secretly loved each other behind my back. There were fans feeling sorry for her humble and hidden love and cheering her on, encouraging her to completely steal Shinemo away from me. Occasionally, some netizens with a normal sense of morality would stumble upon her posts and scold her, but they would be chased and scolded by Josue's fans. I watched all the notes posted on their alternate accounts like self-torture, and a chill ran through my heart. Before, Shinemo always said that it was disgusting for a man to show off his love, and only sissies would do such a thing. but on his alternate account. He secretly posted some mushy love words to match Zhou Siyue, who never showed her face. They used couple avatars, wore couple outfits, and shared the same ice cream. He would thoughtfully prepare warm baby pads for Zhou Siyue, learn to make birthday cakes for her, warm her feet with his belly, and create all kinds of small surprises for her. These were all things he had never done for me, but he did them all for Zhou Siyue. The bits and pieces in their alternate accounts made me, the legitimate fiancé, look even more ridiculous. Shin's mother also saw their alternate accounts. She had originally hoped for my engagement with Shin Mo, but now she personally brought valuable gifts and came to my home with Shin's father to sincerely apologize for not raising her son well. My parents' expressions were also unpleasant. Since Shin's parents didn't raise their son well and Zhou Siyue was the adopted daughter of the Zhou family, it meant that our family didn't raise our daughter well either. My family didn't accept the valuable gifts brought by Shin's parents, but both sides knew clearly that my marriage with Shin Mo was completely off the table, and no matter what happened in the future, it would be impossible. I blocked Shin Mo's WeChat and mobile phone number. After their alternate accounts were exposed, he changed several new numbers and kept sending me messages, saying that he had hidden the truth from me before because he didn't want to hurt me. He asked me to meet him so that he could apologize and explain clearly in person. The truth was so obvious in front of me, what else was there to explain? Since Shin Mo still had the energy to come after me, he must not be busy enough. I had to find something for him to do. When he and Zhou Siyue left the Shin family, although they didn't take their luggage, the watch on his hand and the jewelry on Zhou Siyue's body were all quite valuable. In the previous life, if they hadn't been extravagant at the beginning and still spent money recklessly after selling these items for some cash, they wouldn't have had a hard time later, in this new life. Shin Mo would surely learn his lesson and might use this money as his first startup capital. I won't give him this chance. It won't be a problem to find someone to provoke and blackmail Shin Mo and Zhou Siyue, making them lose a large amount of money in compensation. In a civilized and legal society, a slap from a stranger is quite costly. If you knock out someone's tooth, the compensation amount will start from 6 figures. If you have an argument with someone and accidentally push them, and they call the police, pretend to be sick in the hospital and claim to have a headache, then you have to pay for the compensation. So, impulsiveness is the devil. Shin Mo hasn't experienced the hardships of society, and I'm helping him understand the social rules in advance so that he can integrate into the bottom-level life more quickly in the future. I have to say, I'm still too kind, because there were constantly people causing trouble for Shin Mo. He couldn't spare the time to pester me after that day. I became Zhou Siyuen's assistant and stayed by his side. Managing a company was much more difficult than I had imagined. There were endless things to do, documents to read, and meetings to attend every day from the moment I entered the company. It was truly a situation where one looked glamorous in public but was exhausted behind the scenes. In the company, Zhou Siyuen turned back into the cold and workaholic person I remembered. He didn't hold back when teaching me, and correspondingly, he was also very businesslike and unforgiving. Even if it was me, if I made a mistake, I would still be criticized and have my salary deducted. He said that managing the group meant taking control of the futures of tens of thousands of employees, and we should be responsible for their futures. We couldn't treat it as a joke. We had to be extremely cautious when making any decisions because every decision was related to the future development of the group and couldn't afford to make mistakes. I understood the principles he said, but after just 1 week of work, my salary was all deducted, and now I'm actually paying to work. Zhou Siyuen could read documents at a glance, but when I looked at them, I felt dizzy and my dyslexia would immediately kick in. I couldn't help but doubt myself. Was I really as stupid as a pig? Work was really too difficult. It was so difficult that I was working overtime every day to deal with it, and I even forgot about Shin Mo, until Shin Mo blocked me in the underground parking lot of the company. It had only been 2 months since we last met, and he was no longer the high-spirited, noble, and neat person he used to be. He was wearing a wrinkled t-shirt with unremovable oil stains on it. His skin had darkened several shades, and the exhaustion in his eyes couldn't be hidden. He stopped me, but he didn't speak for a long time. Instead, he stared at me intently, looking as if he had a lot going on in his mind. When my patience was running out and I was about to call someone to drive him away, he stammered, "Ying, long time no see." I had a cold expression and didn't want to waste any more words with him. I bypassed him and was about to open the car door and leave, but he blocked the car door and said urgently again, "Ying, don't go. I waited so hard to see you." This time, he didn't dare to look me in the eye. His hesitant appearance was like he was waiting for me to kindly give him an excuse so that he could continue speaking. I didn't need to guess to know that what he was going to say definitely wasn't what I wanted to hear. I crossed my arms and looked at him quietly, not speaking and not cooperating. The atmosphere was deadlocked. A look of embarrassment flashed across his face. And finally, he lowered his head, "Ying, you win. I can marry you, but I have one condition: you can't touch Yaya, and you can't force her to leave. If I marry you, she will definitely be wronged. I hope." Bang. Before Shinemo could finish what he hoped for, he was kicked several meters away, hitting the car next to him and sliding to the ground. This wasn't over. The person who hit him continued to rush forward, exuding a fierce aura. He dragged the stunned Shinemo up from the ground and punched him in the face one after another. Shinemo lost the opportunity to fight back and was completely unable to resist throughout the process. It wasn't until his face was covered in blood and it seemed that he was about to be seriously injured that I spoke up to stop it. "Brother, that's enough. Stop hitting him." Zhou Siyuan, whose mind was already occupied by anger, still didn't let go of the unconscious Shinemo. Only then did I notice that something was wrong with him. I quickly stepped forward and grabbed his hand, shouting loudly, "Brother, if you keep hitting him, he'll die." Zhou Siyuan's tone was full of coldness. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. He won't die." He also tried to push me aside and coaxed me in a tone like coax a child. "You wait for me over there for a while, it'll be over soon." The commotion here was so loud that it had already alarmed other people in the parking lot. Some people came to check what was going on. When they saw it was me and Zhou Siyuan, and then looked at Shinemo lying on the ground, whose life or death was unknown, their faces changed drastically. Before they could react, Zhou Siyue rushed out. She hugged Zhou Siyuan's arm and pitifully begged him with tears in her eyes, "Brother, I'm begging you. If you want to hit someone, hit me. Don't hit him. Let go. Don't touch me." Zhou Siyuan was disgusted by Zhou Siyue's touch. Zhou Siyue was pushed away by Zhou Siyuan, but the next second, she clung to him again, while crying. She hugged him tightly, holding him even closer. It seemed that she was afraid that Zhou Siyuan would continue to hit Shinemo. But, was it necessary to hug him so tightly? Moreover, she didn't even take a second look at Shinemo lying on the ground. A strange feeling flashed through my heart. I stepped forward, just as Zhou Siyuan was about to shake Zhou Siyue off with more force. I pulled her away from him one step ahead and even gave her a slap. Zhou Siyue covered her face, looking at me with disbelief and anger in her eyes. Her eyes were blazing with fire, as if questioning me why I hit her. In front of her, I insultingly patted the place on Zhou Siyuan that she had just hugged. "You should have some self-respect. Don't snatch everything. My brother only has me as his sister now. You have no connection with the Zhou family anymore. Zhou Siyue, it's you who's snatching from me. Brother and I grew up together in the same orphanage. I'm his sister." Zhou Siyuan shook his head. "From the moment you let down Ying and the Zhou family, you've had nothing to do with me. I'm a member of the Zhou family, but you're not." Zhou Siyue was greatly shocked. "After all, I'm not as good as Zhou Ying in your heart. How can you be so heartless to me? We were the closest people to each other." But Zhou Siyuan ignored her outburst and continued to deal her a heavy blow. "You were never as good as Ying." What Zhou Siyuan said was fair, just, and objective. In terms of background, appearance, intelligence, and character, I believed that I was better than Zhou Siyue. Zhou Siyuan had better judgment than Shinemo. However, Zhou Siyue didn't agree with this statement. She pointed at me furiously. "You say I'm not as good as her. She's a useless person whose head is full of nothing but play, without her parents' support. In what way is she better than me? She's just a willful young lady who, relying on her parents' love, doesn't take anyone seriously. Do you really think that just because she calls you brother, she really treats you as a brother? Don't dream. She just wants to use you to make Shinemo jealous." Zhou Siyue was talking more and more absurdly. "Bullshit, brother. Don't believe her. In my heart, I really treat you as my own brother. I have no intention of using you to make Shinemo jealous. Who does Shinemo think he is? In my heart, he's already a dead man." I almost swore to the heavens, afraid that Zhou Siyuan wouldn't believe me. As a result, Zhou Siyuan's expression became more and more ominous. On the contrary, Zhou Siyue seemed to have heard something very funny and suddenly burst into wild laughter. "Ha ha 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 ha, own brother." She couldn't stop laughing. "Me? Are you crazy?" Zhou Siyue, "Ha ha ha ha, I'm crazy. And your own brother is also crazy. Do you know what your own brother wants is?" Zhou Siyue, shut up. Just when I thought Zhou Siyue would continue speaking despite Zhou Siyuan's stop, she closed her mouth and didn't say anything more. She just looked back and forth between me and Zhou Siyuan. That look was like she was watching a good show. I don't know who called the ambulance. The medical staff carried Shinemo onto the ambulance. Before leaving with the ambulance, Jo Siwoo said to me meaningfully, "The person you should hate is the one you regard as your own brother." Her inexplicable words made me instantly irritable. "I think you're really seriously ill." The ambulance had already driven away. Still angry, I looked at Jo Siwoo. What did she mean by that? "Are you hiding something from me?" Jo Siwoo stiffened all over when I asked him. I lied to my parents, saying that I had work to do with Jo Siwoo. As soon as I entered the door, without even eating, I forcefully pulled the silent Jo Siwoo all the way to the study and closed the door. I was determined to get to the bottom of things and wouldn't give up until I found out the truth. "Speak up, what have you been hiding from me?" Jo Siwoo's face was pale. Standing in front of me, he was a head taller than me, but he lowered his head and didn't dare to look at me. He remained silent for a long time, and no matter how you looked at it, it seemed like I was bullying him. I spoke again. "If you don't tell me, I can also ask Jo Siwoo." As I said that, I took out my phone in front of him, found Jo Siwoo's chat window on WeChat, and was about to send her a video call. Jo Siwoo reached out and took my phone away. Just as I was about to lose my temper, I heard him say, "There's no need to ask her. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just thought it wasn't necessary to say it before, but I don't want you to hear these things from someone else even more." After saying that, he took a deep breath, as if he had made a very difficult decision. This time, he didn't avoid my gaze and looked directly at me. "Jo Siwoo is right. Both she and I are crazy. You treat me as your own brother, but I have feelings for you that I shouldn't have in my heart." "Me? Is that all?" My calmness seemed unreasonable to Jo Siwoo. He was shocked. "Don't you think I'm disgusting? We don't have any blood relationship." I was very calm. "Besides, if you want to blame someone, you should blame me for being too excellent. Which is why you couldn't help but fall in love with me." My confident words earned a nod of approval from Jo Siwoo. He looked at me, and I looked at him. We were both waiting for the other to change the subject first. In fact, I was just pretending to be calm on the surface. Inside, I was already screaming, but I couldn't show it. Otherwise, with Jo Siwoo's sensitivity, he would surely think that I was disgusted by him. In the previous life, I did agree to marry Jo Siwoo under the matchmaking of my parents, but at that time, I was still immersed in the betrayal of Shinemo and Jo Siwoo, and my parents were heartbroken when they saw it. They didn't know where they heard the saying that if you want to forget a relationship, you should start a new one. They actively encouraged me to move on and look at the whole forest instead of hang herself from the tree of Shinemo. I didn't want to worry my parents, so I forced myself to get to know the young talents they mentioned. Jo Siwoo noticed my unhappiness and specially held a family meeting with my parents. He asked my parents not to put so much pressure on me and solemnly promised them that even if I didn't get married for the rest of my life, after they passed away, as my brother, he would take good care of me. His words were a bit rough, and my parents' faces darkened a bit when they heard them. As a result, he took out a lifetime employment contract and promised to stay in the Zhou group and work for the Zhou family for the rest of his life and not start his own business. If he breached the contract, all his income after leaving the Zhou group would also be transferred to my name unconditionally as compensation. This was a closed loop. He had already signed the contract, and his attitude was very clear. My parents were stunned. They were touched by Jo Siwoo's dedication to the Zhou family. Although they had raised an ungrateful person like Jo Siwoo, they still had Jo Siwoo, who was grateful and loyal. Of course, they didn't accept the contract, but they also listened to Jo Siwoo's decision and stopped forcing me. I watched the whole process, at that time on a whim, looking at Jo Siwoo, who was being praised by my parents. With a rebellious attitude, I stood up and said that Jo Siwoo talked a good talk, just like Jo Siwoo always said nice things to please people, but in the end, she still showed her true colors. I shouted that I would never believe him again, unless he married me and moved into the Zhou family, becoming a real member of the Zhou family. Then, when my parents heard this, their eyes lit up, and they smiled happily, saying yes repeatedly, just like that. The marriage between me and Jo Siwoo was decided in a rather dramatic way. If Jo Siwoo hadn't suddenly gone abroad and made it impossible for Shinemo to find her, and if Shinemo hadn't thought that I had forced her away and come back to pursue me again, and if I hadn't been so foolish as to reconcile with Shinemo, then Jo Siwoo and I might have really changed from siblings to husband and wife. However, from beginning to end, I thought that Jo Siwoo was treating me well and agreeing to move into my family because he had deep feelings for the Zhou family. When we went to the orphanage to adopt him, the director said that not long after Jo Siwoo was born, his parents died in a car accident. His relatives all thought that he was a jinx, and no one was willing to raise him, so they abandoned him in the orphanage, although Chinese people say they believe in science. Sometimes they are contradictory and believe in such things. After hearing that Zhou Siyuan was a bad luck to his parents, they didn't want to adopt him. Zhou Siyue was 3 years younger than Zhou Siyuan and was also abandoned at the gate of the orphanage not long after she was born. In the orphanage, the older children had to take on the responsibility of taking care of the younger siblings. Zhou Siyue was essentially raised by Zhou Siyuan, and they had a deep relationship. When we went to the orphanage to adopt a child, Zhou Siyue was well taken care of by Zhou Siyuan. Her clothes were neat, her little face was clean, and her braids were beautifully done. Among the group of messy children, Zhou Siyue stood out. Moreover, she had a sweet mouth. While the other children were timid and didn't dare to approach me, she was enthusiastic and proactive. She got familiar with me after just a few words, and we started playing together quickly. So I proposed to take her as my sister. However, Zhou Siyue's reaction wasn't as happy as I had imagined. She didn't agree immediately. Only after I pressed her did I find out that she didn't want to be separated from Zhou Siyuan. When my parents saw Zhou Siyuan, they thought he was good-looking. After asking, they found out that he also had excellent academic performance. At my request, Zhou Siyuan and Zhou Siyue were adopted together. Logically speaking, Zhou Siyuan and Zhou Siyue should have a deeper relationship than I do with either of them. It was only then that I realized that what Zhou Siyuan had just said was that both he and Zhou Siyue were sick. Given that Zhou Siyuan regarded his feelings for me as sick, then what about Zhou Siyue? I voiced the doubt in my heart. Zhou Siyuan was silent for a long time before he finally opened his mouth with difficulty. 2 years ago, Siyue confessed her feelings to me. So after all this, Zhou Siyue couldn't get Zhou Siyuan, and then she found out that Zhou Siyuan liked me, so she wanted me to taste the pain of a broken heart too. That's why she stole Shinemo from me. It turned out that the source of all this was Zhou Siyuan, although it's true that what can be stolen isn't worth clinging to. After learning this melodramatic truth, I still took my anger out on Zhou Siyuan. Yes, I just wanted to take my anger out on him. After ignoring Zhou Siyuan for several days in a row, my parents finally dully noticed that the atmosphere between us was off. One night, my mother specifically came to my room and said that she hadn't slept with me for a long time, and she wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with me all night. Her way of trying to get information out of me was really clumsy. After just a few words, she abruptly shifted the topic to Zhou Siyuan. Seeing how worried she was about me, I directly told her the reason for my cold war with Zhou Siyuan. After hearing this, my mother was so angry that she opened a bottle of wine and said she wanted to scold Zhou Siyue while drinking. I knew that she had actually been hurt by Zhou Siyue too. Just as I regarded Zhou Siyue as my real sister, my mother also regarded Zhou Siyue as her real daughter. Although we can scold her, Mom still has to say something fair for Siyuan. This isn't his fault. He can't control matters of the heart. Siyue likes him. He likes you, and you liked Shinemo. Stop, I don't like Shinemo now. Don't talk nonsense. Okay, then do you like Siyuan? Old ginger is spicier. Experience makes one more skillful. I was left speechless by my mother's question. My mother looked at me with a knowing smile. Hesitating means you're a little attracted, but not to the extent of liking yet. My mother had an expression that said, "You don't need to say more, I understand everything," and continued, "Mom is an experienced person. You two are in the ambiguous stage, right?" Blushing, I pushed my mother out of my room to stop her from saying more nonsense. Just after my mother left, the door was knocked again. I opened the door, and Zhou Siyuan was standing outside holding a cup of honey water. "Mom asked me to bring you this honey water." I put my hand on my forehead. My mother really couldn't wait to stir up trouble. I took the honey water from Zhou Siyuan, thanked him, and was about to close the door. But I didn't succeed. His hand blocked the door. "Do you have something else to say?" He nodded. "Yes, I want to say that if you don't want to see me, I can move out of here." I raised my eyebrows and deliberately asked, "What about the company? Won't you go there either?" His expression froze for a moment, and then he said, "It's okay. For work arrangements, I can work from home, and Secretary Chen can teach you the operations in the company." He really made arrangements. It seemed that if I didn't make things clear today, he really intended to make me feel at ease by not seeing him. I drank the honey water in one gulp, calmed down my emotions, and then said, "It's not that I don't want to see you. I'm thinking about how to deal with our relationship." "Zhou Siyuan, there's no need to deal with it. We can just be like before. Nothing has changed." I didn't expect you to be the kind of person who runs away from problems. Or is your love really that unmentionable? Zhou Siyuan became excited. "Of course not. I just don't want to make you feel awkward." Me, you haven't made any expressions of your feelings, nor have you taken any actions. How can you be sure that I'm feeling awkward instead of happy? Zhou Siyuan looked a bit stunned. What do you mean? I gave him a reproachful look. It means that you should bravely pursue me. Let me tell you, I'm very hard to chase now. If you can't make me feel that I can't live without you, you'll just have to be my admirer for the rest of your life. Think carefully before you pursue me. After saying that, regardless of what Zhou Siyuan thought, I closed the door with a bang. I covered my burning face, feeling embarrassed about my words just now that sounded like those of a heartless woman. But it's better to get the unpleasant things out in the open. Whether to pursue me or not is his choice. After experiencing Shen Mo, the ultimate scumbag, I know that it will be very difficult for me to trust other men in the future, but Zhou Siyuan is different. In the previous life, he was good to me and wholeheartedly took care of the Zhou family. In this life, I'm willing to believe that he will be the same as in the previous life. However, since I have a second chance at life, I don't want to get lost again in others' kindness to me and then plunge in headfirst and be unable to get out. It's best to be in control of my own destiny. After talking things through with Zhou Siyuan, he didn't seem to become much more enlightened. Our relationship returned to the state before the Cold War, and then it stopped there. Zhou Siyuan and I still go to and from work together every day. If I make mistakes or cause problems in the company, I will still be stared at coldly by him and asked, "Do you have water in your head to make such a lower mistake?" Then he will add, "Your salary and bonus will be deducted." Deducted? I'm already working and paying out of my own pocket, so what else can he deduct? Even when I get home, I can't get away from work. Zhou Siyuan and I each have a desk in the study, facing each other, and we do our own things. The only thing better than in the company is that at home he won't have a cold expression. When I ask him about things I don't understand, he will explain them to me very patiently. My parents have seen my progress and are very pleased. They finally have the sense of accomplishment of our daughter has grown up. In the past, their catchphrase to me was, "Don't always think about having fun, find something serious to do." Now their catchphrase to me is, "Don't always be busy with work, go out and have fun to balance work and rest." Well, this weekend, both Zhou Siyuan and I were driven out of the house by our parents and told to go out and have fun. The intention of matchmaking is just too obvious. Zhou Siyuan and I looked at each other. Since we were already out, we decided to find a place to have fun. Speaking of having fun, I haven't ridden a horse for a long time, and I haven't seen my precious Mianhua for a long time. My Mianhua is a pure white horse, and it's extremely gentle. Zhou Siyuan also has a pure black horse named Moyan. When the two horses were let out, they affectionately rubbed against each other and couldn't be pulled apart. Zhou Siyuan and I, we underestimated it. The pets got into a relationship before their owners, so Zhou Siyuan and I each led a horse and walked slowly. We met an acquaintance head-on. Strictly speaking, this is Shen Mo's friend named Gu Huai, who is also a rich second-generation young master. As soon as he saw me, he frowned and asked bluntly, "Are you really done with Shen Mo?" I gave him an unkind look. "What do you think?" Gu Huai scratched his head and softened his tone. "Oh, I didn't mean to blame you. Have you heard? Aunt Shen is pregnant. Since your engagement with Shen Mo is off, he might really be given up by Uncle Shen and Aunt Shen this time." I already knew this, but I pretended to be very surprised. I haven't been idle these past few months. Shen Mo was penniless. Instead of following the old path of the previous life and working as a laborer, he took a risk and borrowed from loan sharks. He thought that with his knowledge of the future, his investment and entrepreneurship would definitely succeed. His thinking was still stuck in the achievements he had made in his high position in the previous life. He didn't consider that when borrowing from loan sharks without any collateral, he could at most borrow a few 100,000 yuan. And the projects he wanted to engage in required hundreds of millions of yuan. When he went to talk about cooperation with just a few 100,000 yuan, people would only laugh at him for being unrealistic and send him away directly. I sent people to follow him. Whenever he was going to talk about a project, I would intercept it. I don't have the memory of those profitable projects from the previous life, so I simply followed behind Shen Mo and took advantage of the opportunities he missed. It was really successful every time. Shen Mo wasn't without the thought of seeking help from his rich second-generation friends, such as Gu Huai in front of us, but the rich second generation are under the control of the rich first generation. My parents had already spread the word that whoever cooperated with Shen Mo, the Zhou group would target them, and Shen Mo's parents didn't express any opinion on this statement from my parents, which meant they didn't want to interfere. Shen Mo's parents intended to test Shen Mo's ability. After all, it was very dangerous to hand over a large group to an impulsive person driven by love. If this person driven by love didn't have the ability to solve problems, It would be more practical to quickly train a new account, have a second child. Unfortunately, after being intercepted by me several times, Shin Mo, after several months, had nothing to show for it except for the mounting debts with compound interest. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to me last time and said that ridiculous thing about being willing to marry me. He really deserved to be severely beaten by Zhou Siyuan. Did he think he was an emperor in the feudal era? He thought that marrying me was a favor he was bestowing on me. It's really laughable. It was after learning about this incident that Shin Mo's parents made up their minds to train a new account, have a second child. Gu Huai didn't get any useful information from me. On the contrary, I got a lot of the latest news about Shin Mo from him. Shin Mo was being chased by loan sharks to repay the money, and he couldn't pay it back. The people from the loan sharks saw that Zhou Siyue was somewhat good-looking and wanted to take her to pay off the debt. Shin Mo fought with them and ended up having 2 of his legs broken. When talking about this, Gu Huai's tone was angry because Zhou Siyue, this woman, left Shin Mo in the hospital and ran away. The hospital had no choice but to contact Shin Mo's parents. After all, he was their biological son, and they couldn't just watch him die. They found the best orthopedic expert to treat Shin Mo's legs and also helped him pay off the loan from the loan sharks. Up to this point, if Shin Mo had acted pitifully and begged for mercy from his parents like he did in the previous life, he could still have returned to the Shin family. But for some reason, Shin Mo, upon learning that his mother was pregnant with a second child, actually threatened his mother to abort the second child by refusing to cooperate with the treatment. His mother, who had been a bit soft-hearted towards him, was so angry that she didn't care about his life or death anymore. Anyway, it wasn't her legs that were broken. Whether he wanted to be treated or not was up to him. His father was also extremely disappointed in him. Such a confused son wasn't worth keeping. Well, now Shin Mo couldn't return to the Shin family, and Zhou Siyue was nowhere to be found. I didn't want him to misunderstand that I had forced Zhou Siyue away again, so I spent some effort to find Zhou Siyue. Fortunately, in this life, no one gave her money and sent her abroad. She was still in the country, just in a different city, and she was doing quite well. It seemed that she didn't have much true love for Shin Mo either. She had hidden a lot of Keisto. She was really good at making plans for herself. She had saved a lot of money during her years in the Zhou family, and my parents didn't take it back. When Shin Mo was in urgent need of money, she didn't take it out for him to use. I decided to be a good person to the end. I called a same-city delivery service and sent Zhou Siyue's whereabouts and bank statements to Shin Mo. Later, I heard that Shin Mo refused to leave Zhou Siyue's place and forced her to take out money for his entrepreneurship. Zhou Siyue had no choice but to give him money several times, but each time it was a complete loss. After several times, she couldn't afford to keep giving money to Shin Mo like this, and no matter what he said, she refused to take out any more money. After several failed attempts at entrepreneurship, Shin Mo's arrogance was turned into self-abasement. He drank alcohol at home all day long, and when he was drunk, he would beat the Zhou Siyue he claimed to love deeply. Zhou Siyue called the police, and when the police came, they said it was a marital conflict. They gave Shin Mo a lecture and considered it settled. Yes, the 2 of them got married. They got married the first time Shin Mo convinced Zhou Siyue to take out money for his entrepreneurship. The 2 of them really had a gambler's mentality. Zhou Siyue was gambling that Shin Mo could succeed in his entrepreneurship. The promises Shin Mo made to her were so attractive that only by becoming husband and wife could she have a share of the money Shin Mo would earn in the future. Shin Mo was gambling that he and Zhou Siyue would definitely be happy. Everyone said that he was blind and couldn't distinguish between good and bad. He wanted to prove to me that it was my loss to have missed him. Shin's father, get out. I don't have a son as stupid as you. From now on, there will be no Shin Mo in the Shin family. He once said that with just one word from me, he could immediately abandon Zhou Siyue and come back to marry me. I was so scared that I didn't dare to send any words of provocation, sarcasm, or blessing to him, for fear that he would misunderstand that I wanted him to change his mind and marry me, later. Until I was recognized by my parents and the board of directors and officially took over the Zhou group, I didn't hear any news about these 2 people. By then, Shin Mo's younger brother, Shin Zhao, was already 3 years old and old enough to go to kindergarten. Our Zhao and Shin families still had interactions. Shin Zhao didn't resemble Shin Mo. Shin Mo took after his father, while Shin Zhao resembled his mother more. He was extremely cute, and I took a liking to him at first sight. As a result, I often visited the Shin family. The rift between the 2 families caused by Shin Mo was gradually mended by little Shin Zhao. Today was the day Shin Zhao started kindergarten, and as his honorary sister, I came along to see him off. Zhou Siyuan accompanied me. Seeing how reluctant I was to part with Xinjiao, he suggested, "How about letting him start kindergarten a bit later?" I replied, "That won't do. He also needs playmates of his own age," Zhou Siyuan then said. "What if we have a child for him to play with?" Not long after Xinjiao was born, I went to the hospital for a check-up and found that there was nothing wrong with my body. Looking at Zhou Siyuan, who was full of anticipation and nervously waiting for my answer, I said, "It depends on your performance.